hold up, I am on my way, I'm in motion. Let's go to the ocean. Yeah, let's go outside. We can hang out on the beach without freezing.
Welcome to Crafty Beach. This is Julie. Today it's Crafty Fall 2024, where I bring you 23 of the fall Dollar Tree DIYs that I've done so far this year on my channel in a crafting marathon. So be sure to enjoy. So for the first DIY, we're going to DIY one of the metal acorn signs from the Dollar Tree. And I'm just going to use one of their plain square blank signs for these. I love these for crafting. I'm going to make a standing sign, so I don't need the bead hanger on the top. So I just use my pliers to remove that. I'm going to make it a standing sign with some of this Dollar Tree craft wood. And I'm going for really kind of a farmhouse, beautiful vibe on these DIYs today. And so I want to be using like a lot of warm colors, a lot of like browns, natural materials, and a little bit of book pages as well. So I'm using some Antique Wax by Waverly, and I'm just going to stain the frame of this. I'm going to cover the back of it to give it a really fun background behind the acorn. This sign is a little bit smaller than the acorn sign, which is going to work out perfectly. Kind of give it a 3D vibe. I just use a baby wipe to wipe off my excess Antique Wax by Waverly. And then I'm also going to stain the wood stand to match. This is just a piece of their like chunky slat wood that they have at the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree. And you can see how beautifully it stains. And it's a perfect size for a base for the sign. Now for the acorn sign, I don't need the hanger on this one either, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut that off. I'm also going to kind of sketch out where I want the acorn to be, just with an ink pen, so I know where to kind of put the background material. It's not going to sit super far off the sign, but it is enough to put something small and decorative, and so I'm going to use some of that floral moss they have at Dollar Tree right now. It is like the brown floral moss. It's not my favorite, but it does work well for this project. I just attach it to the sign with a little bit of hot glue. And I don't really care if you can see a little bit of like the ivory sign behind it. I just want to get as much of it covered as I can with this moss. I think it's going to go great with the acorn feel for fall. But I don't want to waste the floral moss by putting it underneath the acorn. And again, there's not a lot of room, like depth. And so that's one reason why this floral moss works pretty well, because it's nice and thin. I just put a little bit of hot glue everywhere I'm going to need it and just kind of push that down inside. I haven't been finding the Spanish moss and the reindeer moss at my Dollar Trees at all lately. I don't know if there's a supply issue with that. I did notice that I could order them online, but I don't want to order like a gigantic case, and because some people on there, like on their reviews, have said they got like ugly brown dead moss. But I hope they get it back in sooner. I'm gonna have to check out somewhere else. I think one of you guys said Walmart has it as well. So you can see that the tip of the acorn cap and the very tip of the acorn are going to overlap the frame a little bit, but that's totally fine. I like that look. Now, I just picked up a book at the Dollar Tree, and I was trying to like look at some pages that didn't have something crazy written on it. You might be better off trying to like select your book. I just grabbed one. And I'm going to cover the acorn nut itself with the book page. So I'm just going to lay the metal acorn on top and sketch that out with an ink pen. So I know how to cut that down. We're going to like age and dye the book page too to make it look really pretty for fall. So I just cut along that line. I was trying to get like as much words as I can, like less like chapters or subtitles or anything like that. And I'm going to dye it with some Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with some water. I just want a light stain. You can also do this with like tea bags, coffee, stuff like that, which I really didn't have anything available. So Antique Wax actually worked really well for it. The only thing is it gets the paper really wet. So I use my heat gun to dry it thoroughly. And then for a little more detail, I have like a bronze Sharpie, and I'm just going around the very edges to kind of give it almost that burnt edge look around the sides, just to give it a little bit more character. That looks really good. Now I can just go ahead and attach it to the metal acorn with some Mod Podge. I always really enjoy the galvanized metal shapes for seasonal items at the Dollar Tree, but sometimes they can be a little hard trying to figure out what to DIY with them. I think this was a really fun way. So I just smoothed that out on the Mod Podge, trying to get as less wrinkling as I can. And then we're going to use just lunch bags from the Dollar Tree. We're going to be using these a lot today. I really love how these craft. And I just put a couple together, and I'm just cutting out strips about 1.5 inches, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches wide. And I just take a strip and crinkle it. I just broke it at the end, so I have like just a crinkled strip like that. And I'm going to cover the acorn cap with this. It's going to give it a really fun texture, and I'm a big fan of these paper bag DIYs. We're going to have a lot of them in today's video, and I hope you enjoy them. So that looks like it's a pretty good start. I'm going to go ahead and attach them with hot glue. The more crinkly you get them, the better. And when you glue them on, it's okay to kind of like switch directions, crinkle them. Just try to give as much interest as possible with that. And then I'm going in for a second row. I'm going to try to get it as close as I can to the first row so you won't be able to see any of that metal through. But again, I want it just to be really random. That's going to make it look its very best. And for my third one, doing the same. And as you can see, that goes really well with like the book page, like tinted that color. I really like that. I think I need one more to kind of cover the gap here between the paper and the metal. And I think that makes a really interesting like looking acorn cap. A little piece I can use here for the stem of the acorn. Just trying to cover all of the metal like I can, and then I can just flip it over and kind of trim up some of the excess so it still retains that really pretty acorn shape. One thing about doing this is it also covers the holes on the top of the acorn, so those won't be a problem either. Now you could spray to seal it. I kind of left mine as is, but I do seal one of the projects today with that, and it actually turned out pretty good. I attach it with a little hot glue here and there, but then I thought I probably need like a spacer in between. So I just took one of those pieces left over from the lunch bags and I folded it into fourths, just using hot glue to glue them all together. And it gave me the perfect depth spacer, and it would have been trash anyway. So I just hot glue that on, gluing it to the frame and to that paper bag spacer. And then to finish it off, I'm going to use one of the Dollar Tree wood words. This one says Hello Autumn. I'm just going to leave it the unfinished wood. I think it's going to look really pretty with the colors we already have here. And I just glue that right on top of the book page. Isn't this so pretty? I'm really loving it. Now, all of my DIYs today, I'm going to be a lot of like natural materials like this and neutral colors, but also a little bit of green. And I just go ahead and hot glue it to the base. I do one strip of hot glue across, really let that dry and set up. And then I always like to reinforce it with like another bead of hot glue there on the back to make sure it's super strong. I love it, but it does need that little bit of green. So I'm going to use some lamb's ear, and I just pulled off the top. It kind of gave me some tiny leaves, and I really only want the 2 small ones. So I put a little hot glue on the tip and kind of work it behind the acorn. Fits snugly in there, but perfect for just a few leaves on top of the acorn stem. There it is, our little Hello Autumn acorn sign. I think it is really pretty, and I hope you enjoy this DIY. What do you guys think about this one? I don't think I've really DIY'd very much with book pages, but I really love the look of it. I think it's really pretty, especially for fall. And I could really appreciate some autumn weather right about now. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video so far? If you are, be sure to hit that like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to DIY one of these mesh pumpkins from the Dollar Tree. These are not really my style, but look how easy it is to take them apart. You can just pull off the mesh and you're going to get a great metal cage. I want to pull off all of it. If he had a candle on the bottom, I just went ahead and pulled the whole thing out. And what I want to do is turn this into like a paper bag pumpkin. So again, I'm using the paper bags from the Dollar Tree. I think you get like 30 of them in a package for $1.25. And I'm going to need a lot this time. So I do a stack and I'm just going to cut them all at once. I like to cut the first little strip off to get that little rounded cutout part off of it so I can have some straight lines. And I'm just going to cut strips again. So probably about 1.5 inches. And I try to get as many as I can out of one bag. I just rip it into a strip like this. And then I'm going to crinkle and twist it. So as much like crinkling, the better. I kind of twisted mine a lot on this one. I do go more with like a crinkling technique, but I start here at the very top and I just attach it to the metal cage with hot glue. And then I'm going to do that all the way down the side. I think this is going to be a really good cage for this. I know that you can do this with like a foam pumpkin as well. You're going to have to cover all of it though. I cover most of it because I don't want you to be able to see inside and see all the metal and everything. But I don't cover all of it. So there is going to be a little bit you can see through it. So for the next one, I do the same thing. I just attach here. And for these that are actually on the metal spindles, these are going to be like the sturdiest part of our structure. We are going to go back and add more in between, but right now I want to go ahead and get the structure done first. And so I'm just hot gluing it from the top to that bottom circle and then just cutting off the excess. I guess you could make it go further around, but I don't think it's going to be long enough to go all the way to the other side. You're going to have to start and stop, which I didn't really want to do. I wanted them to all be one piece. And again, I'm gluing them on there just like super random, folding this way and that way. And it really came out with a really fun woven pumpkin design. Now, this one did take a little bit of time, so, you know, put on your favorite YouTuber, put on a good song, and craft. It's really easy to do. It's just a little bit time consuming for how many of these you have to do. So like I'm just taking these and crinkling them up off camera and gonna speed this up for you to go fast. But again, I don't really want much overlap at the top. I'm just kind of going from the very top where the circle is and stopping where the circle is on the bottom. Originally, it had like a battery-operated candle in there. I'm not going to add that. I just want this to be for decor. Now, some of my leftover pieces were longer than others. Most of them were too short, but a couple of them were long enough where I could kind of hot glue these in. For the first one, I kind of attached it to the one next to it and the top and the bottom, but then I realized I can just attach it from top to bottom. Since it's a paper bag material, it keeps its shape pretty well, and I have so much metal structure going on in the pumpkin that it's fine to kind of be like a floating piece like that. So you're going to need about 2 strips on each one of your gaps to fill it up. This one I only needed 1, but I think all the rest of them I ended up using 2. I guess it's just kind of how far the little metal pieces are from each other. And as you can see, I'm just taking a strip and I am hot gluing it from the top and hot gluing it onto that bottom ring. Those are the only 2 places it is attached. And I'm doing that for each gap. So like, as you can see, like some of those rings stick out further and some of the rings go in further. So it does really have that cool pumpkin shape in the end because of the structure of this cage, which is one reason why I like to craft with this one from Dollar Tree. And again, just cutting, twisting, and lots of gluing. I really love how this turned out. I've seen people do this with like, the large pumpkin wreath forms, which we're going to be doing one of those today. We're not going to be doing this method on it, but I've seen people do this method with that as well, which would be really pretty too. And I've even seen people spray paint them orange afterwards, which I'm not going for all of that warm color today. I really want to stick with like neutrals and the cool greens. So I think it looks pretty good with just the paper bag material. I just shape it a little bit, and then we need to start working on the pumpkin stem. I just went ahead and took a couple of them, like 3 of the leftover strips I had, and just twist them all together to give me some material to start working on this. It's got like a metal pumpkin stem, which is going to be kind of the base that I'm going to start with. I use hot glue and then just wrap it around, gluing that down, covering up that little metal pumpkin stem that was sticking up, but I think it needs more of a pumpkin stem. So I take more of those leftover pieces and I twist them together to give me a large, like gnarly looking pumpkin stem. And I just glue that to what I just made there. I made it kind of long so I can shorten it a little bit, twist it to make it look like a pumpkin stem. And I think this is looking really cute so far. What do you guys think about our paper bag pumpkin? Now to decorate it, I wanted to do some leaves. I'm going to go ahead and make a paper leaf using a page out of that same book I got from the Dollar Tree. And I'm using one of their little leaves from the Dollar Tree as a stencil. And I'm just going to kind of sketch that out with my bronze Sharpie so I'll know where to cut. And again, just kind of pick a place on the page and then go ahead and cut out this maple leaf shape. I think this is going to be very neutral. It's going to look really pretty against the paper bag pumpkin, and it's just the perfect size. Now I was trying to decide which side of the paper I liked better, but again, I'm going to age this one too with some Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with water. I get the perfect shade of distressing. I like that. And again, it's super wet, but it dries with just a heat gun, and then we can craft with this. Now, I did have the Sharpie edges on the one side, but I kind of want it to be a little bit more subtle. So I'm going to do the other side and just slightly go around the edges, just edging it with that bronze Sharpie to give it that like kind of like burnt like look. And I really enjoyed crafting with the paper bags today and with the book pages. Really fun. I'm doing the empty nest thing here where I'm really sad that my son is off at college again. I'm really happy with him being there and proud of him, but I miss him so much. Empty nest is hard, guys. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been there. Now, I also wanted to do like one of these little craft wood leaves, and they also have a maple leaf like this. I picked this up at the Crafter Square at the Dollar Tree. I do want to add a little bit of color to it. First, I went ahead and cut the stem off of it to make it just fit a little bit better. And then I want it to be a soft green color, kind of like the lamb's ear. So I'm mixing some like leaf green with just some white to get like the really fun color of green that I wanted. And just using a makeup sponge, I am going to lightly paint that. A makeup sponge works great for this because you're not going to get paint stuck it down in all those little nooks and crevices there on the leaf. So I think that looks really pretty, really subtle little detail. And I'm going to glue that on with some hot glue right here next to the book page leaf. Now to finish it off, I kind of wanted a little tendril. I had some of this berry garland from the Dollar Tree, but it had these orange and red fall leaves on it, which I didn't really want the color, so I just cut them off. I just wanted the little wire tendril that I wrap around a paintbrush to give me a little curly tendril for my pumpkin. And since it's kind of open, I can kind of put that down inside the paper and it stays right in place. And there it is, our little paper bag pumpkin. I think it is so beautiful. You could decorate this for really any style. I really like the idea of leaving it just the plain brown and not painting it. But doesn't that look really cool? It looks so much better than it did before. I don't think you can really tell that that is the same pumpkin. Really fun, and I'm loving the paper bag crafting. Hey guys, I would love to see your DIYs. If you made something from my channel or one of your own original creations, be sure to check the description of the video for my private Facebook group and join us over there. Okay, for the next DIY, I wanted to do a fall candle. I'm going to be using a Dollar Tree candle holder and this beautiful green like candle holder on the top. I think these are going to be really good. For the brown, instead of using the paper bag on this one, I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree brown rope. I kind of tried it with the paper bag and I didn't really like it on this kind of surface. So I think that the brown rope is going to be perfect. So I just start here at the base. Doesn't really matter what color you're getting. I was looking for a round one, and I don't really mind that the top kind of has that mint green because it's going to match that candle holder that I'm going to put on top of it. But I'm going to cover the rest of it with hot glue. So I go all the way around with some hot glue right on the edge of it, and then just going to continue that all the way up. Now, the more hot glue you use, it's going to stay in place better. So I'm kind of doing like one section at a time and hot gluing that rope to it. Now, this is like the thinner rope from Dollar Tree. I almost had enough to cover the entire thing. I did fall a little bit short. I am hot gluing it, and then like right here, the little bumpy part in the middle, you're still going to get that great shape and everything if you follow that, and it's going to give you this really cool candlestick. So I continue that around, again, using hot glue as I go so everything kind of stays in place. And see, I told you I was just a little bit short with my first package of rope, but no big deal. I can just start a new package right here where I stopped. And my seam actually was on the back of it. Well, the back where the seam where I started, so that will be easy to hide if you could see it. Kind of cutting it at an angle here for the very top. I go all the way up to the lip of the candle holder. And the rope looks pretty good. I am going to go ahead and just use my lighter to kind of burn off any fuzzies to really make it look a little bit more professional and cut off all of the fuzz that this kind of rope sometimes has. I want all my edges to be clean and everything to look nice and round. And isn't that a really pretty fall candle holder? I love it. The little splash of green with the candle holder I think is going to be really pretty. And I want to do some fall touches using acorns and corn. So for the acorns, these are just the little foam acorns from the Dollar Tree. I didn't want them to be kind of like brown on brown though, so I'm just painting mine ivory just for fun. I'm going to leave the caps themselves, but you know what? These actually look pretty cool when you paint them, but painting them like white over the dark brown, I did have to do like a total of 3 coats to get good coverage on those, but be careful when you're drying yours if you have like a heat gun because they are made out of foam and they will kind of melt on you. So I was trying to dry them sparingly. So they look pretty good. I'm just going to attach them with some Dollar Tree twine. I just cut a piece and wrap it around this top part of the candlestick and double knot that, leaving 2 pieces of twine hanging down that I can attach to the acorns. I just do some hot glue on the acorn stem, and then I am going to wrap that twine around, trying to get it to hang right about where I want it. And I think 2 of them is going to look really pretty. So I do the same thing here with our second acorn. And this time I add the glue to the twine itself and just kind of wrap that around the little acorn stem. And now they dangle down 2 little acorns on the front, really giving the fall effect of the candlestick. Isn't this so pretty? I'm loving the colors that I used today. They go great with my decor. Now this is the candle holder. It's kind of, they have these in like different colors. This one's kind of the greenish one. I'm going to attach it to make sure it stays in place with some hot glue on the candlestick and putting the candle holder right on top. I wanted this size candle holder so I could fill it up with some corn. I thought that'd be fun for fall. And since it's kind of tinted green, it's going to take away some of the yellow color from the corn. I'm just using some popcorn that I had. And I don't fill it up too full. I just do a little bed of corn and then using a Dollar Tree like little votive candle. I had like a vanilla one, so it's not super colorful. I just nest that down inside the corn and we have a really beautiful fall candle holder. Isn't that so pretty? I really love those candle holders on top there with the different colors. They're so shiny and just a little bit of color. And the candlestick is really fun as well with the rope and the little white acorns. This is what it looks like lit up. I think it's super cozy and beautiful for fall. Hey guys, if you visited my website yet, it is craftybeach.net. It's an archive of all of my YouTube videos where you can see the photos that you can pin on Pinterest so you can remember to go back and DIY all the fun projects we do here. Okay, for the next DIY, we're doing one of the large pumpkin wreath forms from Dollar Tree. And I want to cover it with some of their lamb's ear. They have this beautiful lamb's ear at the Dollar Tree. I have lots of left over from like tier trays and stuff like that where I've actually cut it down to size. So I have tons of leaves and you know what? They pull right off, which makes them really fun for crafting. I've seen these pumpkin wreath forms done a million ways, but I've never seen them covered with like plants, like a wreath. So I wanted to see if I could pull it off just using the petals of the lamb's ear. I'm just attaching it with some hot glue, kind of overlapping the bottom a little bit on my first wire, and then I'm going to just kind of have them like kind of tumbling down. So I want them all like kind of tilting an opposite direction like that, but slightly overlapping the leaf below them. And this was actually a really easy way to cover one of these wreath forms. I'd kind of looked to see if anybody else had done it like this or used any greenery at all on these, but everybody almost always uses fabrics or ribbons, and I've made a ton of things. I've used wood beads, but you know what? I really like the look of the lamb's ear. I'm a huge fan of this. Now, some of the pieces are like 2 leaves or 3 leaves, which are a little smaller. And if they're bent up, you can always iron them with your heat gun. I'm going to try to use some of the bigger leaves for most of these parts. I can save some of the smaller ones to go around the border of the pumpkin, where I have to kind of go in between the different wired sections. That would work really well. And I want it to be really random. I don't want it to be symmetrical at all with like the one next to it. Just kind of whatever works, and just attaching it with hot glue. Now I am going to be using this wreath form indoors. I don't know how well the hot glue would hold up outdoors if you were going to have some weather or some heat. So keep that in mind. If you're going to recreate, I'm definitely making this one for indoors, and you'll see because we're going to be adding so many fun things to this that I don't think it would really hold up too well outside, but I guess if you have a covered porch, it probably wouldn't be too bad. So we have the 3 wires on the left covered with leaves, and now all we have to do is do the same thing over here. Whenever I see the Dollar Tree lamb's ear, they have it in the large ones and kind of the shorter ones. I always try to pick it up. I just think it's so beautiful. I used to have to get this at Walmart, so I was really excited to see that Dollar Tree carries it now. I do mix a few small leaves in here and there where I can. Just what's ever going to work to make it fit to go all the way down the pumpkin stem. And as you can see, it's already looking really pretty here with each one of these wires with cascading leaves going all the way down. So all of the middle wires or sections, I guess, of the pumpkin are covered with leaves. So now we can do the border of the pumpkin too. So again, I'm going to cut down all of the small leaves because I think those might come in handy on this part. I noticed the small ones aren't quite as easy to glue down, but I was able to get them. But see how some of the smaller ones work really perfectly in between some of the wire pieces there? I want to cover up all of the wire. I don't want you to be able to see any of that. And the leaves do a great job. At first, I was going to leave these like kind of in bundles and attach them going all the way up, but I thought it would be too full. I really like the idea of just using individual leaves. I think it turned out perfect for this pumpkin wreath form. So again, just doing the border, I go here on the left side and cover it completely. It's kind of a larger side, so I can use some of the larger leaves, kind of mixed together with some smaller ones just for some variety. And I'm going to cover everything except for the wire for the pumpkin stem. I do have another idea for that part. And see, the construction on this was actually pretty fast. A lot of times, like when you're weaving in and out, when you're stringing beads and stuff like that, this pumpkin wreath form can be really time consuming because it's so large. But I love the way this one turned out. It just turned out, it's like such a work of art. Big fan. definitely going to have to keep this one. And then for the pumpkin stem, I thought rope would be good, but all I have is this thin rope from the Dollar Tree. But I think if I use enough of it, I can kind of make a big, gnarly pumpkin stem and kind of make it look 3D. So I'm going to start with the bottom layer just by cutting a piece the length that I want, using that as a template and cutting more. It's going to take like 4 or 5 at least. Maybe even 6 to cover this pumpkin stem. I start gluing it here on the stem on the right. Kind of gives me something to glue to, and then I do it on the left. Now the rest of the pumpkin stem, I'm going to have to glue it to the rope next to it because I really don't have anything else to glue to besides the top and the bottom of that. But no big deal, it glues together really well. I'm trying to make all of my curves all go to the right because I want my pumpkin stem to like kind of veer that way and to be larger than the pumpkin stem on the wreath form. You can even kind of unravel the rope at the end to kind of make it look more ragged, more like a pumpkin. And then I'm going to go in with another layer, just 3 here in the middle to kind of get more of a 3D vibe going on this one. And we're actually going to add more to that once I decorate the top of this. But for now, I think that's looking pretty good. I think it just needed something a little bit different for the pumpkin stem than the lamb's ear leaves. Now for the back of it, I'm going to cover it with some burlap. Now, normally I would not do this, but I want to fill it with pumpkins. So I needed something to attach them to, and I needed a background. So I got some burlap from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to give it a quick iron because as you can see, the way they package it, it's all rolled up. You're definitely going to need to iron it so that you can work with it. And I'm just going to use my Cricut Easy Press for that. That looks way better. I'm going to leave it all one piece and cut it later. I just need to attach it to the back to give a back to our pumpkin wreath. And I think the burlap's going to go with like kind of the brown colors that we're using today. It's not going to really stand out much. It's going to go great with the color scheme. So I just start here on the top, add hot glue to that metal wreath form and attach my burlap. And I'm just going to go around working one section at a time and trying to pull it taut as I go. So it's more of like a background and it's the very back. So it's going to be against the wall, not against the inside of the pumpkin. So again, I just do one section at a time and I try to hot glue all of it down. That way I can just go around and cut it once it starts to dry up, which is now. I'm cutting it as close as I can to the metal wreath form. The great thing about the leaves being there is they are going to hide any of the burlap that normally you would be able to see. So it kind of masks that. So again, I just go around and just cut it as close as I can get to the hot glue. The hot glue is going to seal the burlap edge and make it not ravel out as well. And again, just being really careful that I don't cut any of the leaves by mistake. And we have a back to our pumpkin wreath form now. I am loving it. I love the colors. They work so well together. And I want to like use it like a cage and fill it up with some pumpkins. So I grabbed as many of these sweater pumpkins that I could find in ivory at my store. I think I counted, I had a total of 17. And they come 3 to a package. You could always use larger ones. I really loved the texture of the sweater pumpkins though. So that's why I wanted this one. So I'm going to use every one I have. I just use heat to get the metal clip off the bottom. And then I'm going to hot glue them to the burlap back. You can also glue them to the leaves too, just wherever you need to glue them to make them stay in place. I did notice the little metal clips get really hot if you use your heat gun to melt them off. So be super careful with that. I got to where I wasn't really even touching the clips. I was just kind of prying them off. But there's no like stick or anything on the bottom of those. They're just attached with like probably a hot glue. So they're really easy to melt off like that. And you can kind of remove any of the excess glue if it bothers you, but most of it you won't be able to see on these. And I'm just filling up the very bottom of the pumpkin, hot gluing these all next to each other, kind of like one in each one of the pumpkin sections. And I'm going to keep working with these until I run out. I just want it to be like a third full of pumpkins. I thought that would be really fun. I thought about making them like go higher on one side to make it kind of asymmetrical, but I wanted to hang even, so I thought I would do a more balanced pile. So this is my second row. I'm kind of gluing them in between the pumpkins underneath of them, so they will kind of nestle in between the pumpkin stems, and I'm gluing them all on their side like that, so they're all like pumpkin stem up, basically, and doing a second row there. Now for the third row, I'm not going to do as many because I'm going to start running out of pumpkins, and I do want to do like a second level on some of those. So I have enough to do like 3 here. I'm going to kind of do them more in the middle of my pumpkin pile like that. And then to finish it up, I have 3 more, and I'm just going to glue those to the other pumpkins, piling them on top. This one goes almost to the top of the pumpkin, just to give it some more interest, make it look like a big pile of pumpkins inside of my pumpkin wreath. I love the neutral color of the white sweater. I think that looks really pretty. And just getting rid of any like hot glue strings that might have accumulated in the process. And again, I counted, it ended up being a total of 17 of these I had. But I love them. I think they're so cute. Now, I think that looks pretty good, but we do need to kind of make a hanger for this one. But I thought I could use the original metal one, but since I kind of hot glued the rope on there, it is not super accessible anymore. So I'm just going to loop and knot just some Dollar Tree twine, and I'm going to glue that to the burlap and the rope here on the back to make kind of a hidden hanger that I can hang this on my wall. Now for the top, I did not want to do a bow. I wanted something a little bit more natural, so I'm going to use some of these beautiful like silver dollars from the fall section at Dollar Tree. I love the neutral color of these, and they pull right off. So I'm going to go ahead and pull them all off. And there is a total of 5. I'm going to go ahead and use them all, and I'm going to attach them to the pumpkin stem like this, where they'll kind of come down. I can have some of them inside the pumpkin, some of them outside. I just hot glue that to the rope pumpkin stem, which we're going to add more rope to, which is going to hide those plastic stems, no problem. So I do another one for this kind of section right here by kind of gluing that upside down on that pumpkin, and then again one for this section, and then the other sections toward the side are a little bit further out, but I'm going to still try to attach some here, and I'll kind of arrange them however I think they look better. I just think that the fall florals look prettier than a bow, and I didn't really want to take away from the beautiful elements going on, so I think that looks good. Now to hide the plastic stems that I just glued on, and to make the pumpkin stem even thicker, I'm adding some more of that Dollar Tree rope, still on the same package, and just cutting strips to kind of go with what I had before, but again, kind of sandwiching in the plastic from the florals that we added there to the top. I'm going to do a total of 4 here. I think that's going to be plenty. And again, you can kind of unwind the tops or even the bottoms to kind of make them look more gnarly like a pumpkin stem. I think that looks pretty good. It's going to help secure and hold all of those florals in place. And I do like some of them kind of dangling down inside like that. And this is how it turned out, our pumpkin wreath DIY. I love it. Definitely the most interesting one I think I've ever made. I've made so many of these on my channel, the pumpkin wreath forms. I always have to grab one every year because I always want to try something new. And I really love how this one turned out. What do you guys think about my pumpkin wreath? Hey guys, have you subscribed to my channel yet? I noticed over half of you guys are not subscribed, but if you could subscribe to my channel, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, for the next DIY, we're going to do a pumpkin DIY. I picked up an oval wood sign from the Crafter Square at Dollar Tree and one of their wood pumpkins that they have every year. It's kind of a nice large size pumpkin, and I think it's going to be really cute for this project. It did have a little bit of splinters here and there, so I'm just going to go ahead and give my pumpkin a quick sanding. Now I want to use that book that I got at the Dollar Tree, and I am just going to do some book pages. So I'm looking for some good pages to use for this, kind of seeing what words are written on in them. And I want to do 3 different sections of pumpkin. I want 2 of them to be book pages and 1 section of the pumpkin to be the paper bag. So I'm going to do the 2 outer sections as book pages like that. Attaching them, I'm going to go ahead and age them as well. Like I did before, I really think I like that look. So just again, antique wax by Waverly mixed with water. I think brown acrylic paint would probably give you kind of the same effect. Or again, you could stain with like tea or coffee as well. I go over it with a foam brush, kind of patting off the excess. Did get a little bit of wrinkling on this one, but that's okay. I kind of like that effect. Makes it look older. And I'm going to do the same thing here on the page for the other side. I'm just leaving them as whole sheets at this time, and I can always cut off the excess later. I just need to go ahead and start the drying process on these because, again, they are super wet. That was mostly water. And just a little bit of antique wax by Waverly. But my heat gun works really well for this and dries these in no time. And as you can see, as it dries, the stain does get a little bit lighter, but it definitely looks aged and exactly what I was going for. So time to attach these to the 2 sections of the pumpkin, the 2 outer sections. And then we'll use that oval for the middle section of the pumpkin. It's going to make it kind of pop out a little bit, make it more 3D. I cover the left side of the pumpkin with a nice thin layer of Mod Podge and lay the book page on there, trying to give it, kind of get it level if I can, and smooth that out with my hands dry to make sure that I don't tear any of the paper as I do that. We're going to do the same thing here on the other side. I was trying to cut off the title and stuff as much as I can and just get the words on there. And I don't really care about the middle section because it's going to be covered up with the wood sign that you see there. And so I want to make sure that it is glued down really well, though, on all the edges of the pumpkin. And if you kind of go around that, you can see how it'll kind of crease already. I gave it a quick dry with my heat gun, and then I'm going to go in and just use a sanding sponge from the Dollar Tree to give me that perfect cut for the pumpkin shape. You do have to make sure it's dry for this part so you don't tear any paper that you don't intend to. But as you can see, it does a great job of cutting it down to the perfect pumpkin size. Right here under the stem was a little tricky because I couldn't get my sanding sponge in there. But same thing here on the other side. I just sand it all the way around to cut off my excess paper. Again, I don't care about the middle section of the pumpkin because we're going to be using that wood oval there for the center section, like that. Now, I want to DIY that part of the pumpkin as well. I also want to do something about the pumpkin stem. I thought twine would be really good and go with everything, be really easy to do. So I just started on the back of the pumpkin stem with a little bit of hot glue until I can start wrapping it. It is some kind of like strange angles that you have to wind it. But you can always go back and kind of wrap it again to fill up any gaps that might be missing. And I wanted to leave the existing hanger on there if I could, so I'm trying to like wrap it and kind of work around it. I want it to still hang level, if at all possible, but I kind of go in and out of that one as well to kind of, make it stay in place. And then towards the tip, you're going to have to use some hot glue to make it stay in place. And then I kind of glue it to itself to completely cover the wooden end of the pumpkin stem. I'm just doing that shape. I'm not going to add any more to it. I think that's fine. And it doesn't really get in the way of this little bump out part that I want to use here for this section of the pumpkin. Now for that section, I want to do the paper bag technique on that one. So again, I'm just going to take a couple of the lunch bags from the Dollar Tree and cut some strips, like 1.5 inches. I just go ahead and crinkle it up. I'm actually kind of like wadding this up. I notice the more that you crinkle it or wad it up like that, the easier it is to work with. I start here on the outer edge of the oval, and again, hot gluing that down, making it like fold and bend and do kind of like whatever direction it kind of wants to do. And what I'm going to do is kind of like spiral this around. So where one stops, I can start a new one. And it's so forgiving because of the random nature of it that you can't really see where you start and stop. And then I'm just going to keep going, kind of spiraling it. Since it is like a round shape, it's really easy to kind of just loop it like you would do with like rope or something like that. So again, just a lot of crinkling and twisting that and then hot gluing it down. But I think this is going to give it a really interesting texture. I think it's going to look really pretty against the book pages of the pumpkin. And this coordinates really well with the paper bag and book page acorn DIY. So again, it's super forgiving. I'm trying to make sure I cover all of the wood. If you find there's like any little gaps peeking out, you can always tear off a piece of the paper bag and go in and patch it. Super easy. You're not going to be able to see where you start and stop. I just need a small piece here for the very middle. And I try to clean up any hot glue that might be visible. And then again, I'm just going to go in, rip off some little pieces of paper and patch any areas where I can see through it a little bit. That looks pretty good. It really has the oval shape that I wanted, but I think I can trim it up a little bit just to make it even better. I don't really want to take away any of the folds or anything like that, but I do want it to have the oval shape. So this is going to go on the front part of the pumpkin. It's going to give it a lot of texture and depth. And I just use hot glue to attach that to my sign, kind of doing hot glue all over. And this makes the perfect middle section here for our pumpkin. Now we have like the browns, the natural colors on this one. I did want to add a few leaves to it. And so I'm going to use a combination of the lamb's ear and the Dollar Tree burlap leaves. Now this is way too big. So what I'm going to do is just pop the wire off the back, and it's just going to give me the fabric that I can cut down. And it doesn't have to be a fall leaf shape. I'm actually going to cut it to be more of a traditional leaf shape, kind of to go a little bit more with the lamb's ear. So I just cut it down to like whatever scale I want, a little oval, and then kind of cut it with some pointier ends to give it that leaf feel. I think that's going to go great with the different browns. And then for the touch of green on this one, we're going to use a lamb's ear. I wanted to add maybe 2 of the green leaves and 1 of the burlap. So I went ahead and cut like the 2 that were attached together. I'm going to glue 1 right here on top of the pumpkin stem, and I can cover that up with the burlap leaf as well, so you won't be able to see the stem. I'm going to have that one kind of point up, and then the other one I can kind of make it more 3D by like attaching it to the back, and I just glue that to the back of the pumpkin stem. But kind of all the leaves bundled together, kind of all going out one direction. Not a lot of fuss, just something really simple to decorate the top of it. And this is how it turned out, our paper bag and book page pumpkin. I really hope you're enjoying these DIYs today. I've never really crafted with paper bags before, but I was a big fan. I think they're just a really great material to craft fall DIYs with, and the book page look, I really love that. Now, I did not darken the edges of this one around the edges, but you could totally do that as well if you wanted to. Now I wanted to do like a fall floral. So we're just going to take a Dollar Tree mason jar and see if we can kind of do like a similar technique on this. Again, the paper lunch bags from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to cut strips of these to see if I can do it like a similar effect on the jar to cover it up, just to make it look like a fun fall planter. So again, just cutting strips, trying to get as many strips as I can out of these. Even if I overlap the bottom a little bit there, no big deal. And I just wanted to do a simple fall floral with lamb's ear, some of the pampas grass, and some of the Dollar Tree pumpkins. So again, I take my paper bag and just crinkle my strip up as much as I can. I've seen one person did this. They braided theirs and they covered like a large vase or pot or something with it. I did try braiding some of this and I didn't really like the way it looked. I liked it more like crinkled up like this than trying to actually braid it. And braiding is kind of hard. I don't know if it's because these lunch bags are thin, but I found that the material wanted to tear a little bit. So we're just going to scrunch it like we've been doing. I just start at the base of the mason jar and attach it with hot glue. There's enough to go around once, and you could do that, but I'm going to kind of spiral it to kind of make sure I use all the materials I can. And again, the more you wad it up, the better it's going to work and look as you're gluing it on. I want it to kind of be going all different directions and folds. And it actually covers quite a bit as well. This is just the small mason jar. I didn't want anything too big. I just wanted kind of a small floral that's going to coordinate with other DIYs that we've made today. And again, just a lot of twisting and crinkling and hot gluing, but it gives you a really fun effect. Now, this is the project that I'm also going to seal. It's the first one that I sealed, being a planter or a vase. I thought I would try to make it a little bit more durable with sealing it, and I wanted to see how the paper bag holds up to the sealer being applied to it, and I was pleasantly surprised. Kind of makes it harder, a little bit more durable, but nothing too different in color or anything like that. So again, I just continue that spiral all the way up, kind of like if I was covering something like the candle holder in rope. And I want to cover all of it all the way up around the top of the jar too. But I'm not really going to go inside the jar or anything like that. Just all the way up to the lip. And again, this is super forgiving. And if you do have a piece that's folded out a little bit, you can always hot glue it down so it doesn't stick out too much. But it almost gives you a natural ruffle effect. So this is what it looks like. I told you I was going to seal it. For the sealer, I'm just going to use some Mod Podge clear acrylic sealer that I have. And I just wanted to see if this would make it a little bit more durable. Just because the nature of being a vase, I don't know. I thought I would try it. And at first it makes the paper bag darker, which I was worried that it was kind of change the color. But after a quick dry with my heat gun, it lightened up to really look like all the other projects that we did today. But look at all that fun texture. I think the color is perfect for a fall vase. It's pretty thin. I'm just going to cut down some floral foam from the Dollar Tree, just a couple pieces just to fill it up. So I have something to put the florals in. To cover that up, I use a little bit of that brown floral moss that they have. Just to go to the very top of the vase. Now, the pampas grass is some of the fall colors. I would guess it's a fall color. It's kind of a tan color. I'm going to kind of cut them in individual pieces. This one had 4 on there. I'm just going to need 3. I like to work with odd numbers, so I kind of put one of the pampas grass going out in each direction. I usually don't mix this with any other greenery, but for fun, I thought I would try mixing it with some lamb's ear. Now, these are the shorter lamb's ear bundles that you can get at the Dollar Tree. The other ones are quite a bit taller. So I think these are going to work perfectly for the size jar. I think they're going to be just about the right size. I'm just going to leave it all attached, put one on this side, and then I'm going to do the same thing here with the second bundle on the other side. It's not a super large jar, so it's not going to take a lot to fill it up. But I kind of like the contrast with the pampas grass and the lamb's ear. It's definitely an interesting combination for fall and a little bit unexpected. Now for the pumpkins, I wanted to make my own little pumpkin picks using some Dollar Tree pumpkins. These are the ones that have the wires on them, but I liked them because they were small and they were ivory, so I was going to go with the color scheme. I'm going to use a total of 3 of them and make 3 picks just using some kitchen skewers from the kitchen section at Dollar Tree. And I don't think I need to shorten them at all. I think they're about the right length. You could always stain these if you wanted. I'm just going to leave them natural. I just poked them into the bottom of the foam pumpkins, trying to make sure I don't go all the way through, and just poke that down into the floral foam. Again, I like to work with odd numbers for most things with florals. I'm just going to do one every like 1/3 of the way around. Very subtle, very easy fall floral arrangement, and using the paper bag technique for the jar. And I think that looks pretty good. You can kind of arrange it, make sure it is everything's exactly where you want it to be, but definitely interesting and fun for fall. It's definitely not like any of the fall florals that I've made in the past. The pampas grass is a little crazy looking, but I kind of like that look. And the paper bag technique for the jar, I think, turned out really cool. Has so much texture. I don't think you would be able to guess that that was made out of a paper bag for sure. But I like it. I think it's pretty cool. Okay, for the next set of fall DIYs, we're going to switch it up a little bit and going to be doing some coastal fall DIYs. So everything's going to be inspired a little bit by the beach. Enjoy. For the first one, we're just using one of the fall wood rounds. This one has like the pumpkin on the bottom over to the left a little bit. I think they have a couple different variations of these. Any of them would probably work. I do want to stain it since it is made out of wood, so I don't want it to be really dark though. So what I'm doing is I'm diluting some antique wax by Waverly with some water. And the first time I do that, I don't think I added enough antique wax by Waverly because I want it to be lighter, but I want it to kind of look almost like driftwood. So I'm going to add a little bit more. And I wanted to stain this sign instead of painting it just because it is made out of wood. You're going to get that beautiful wood grain. And I just go over everything, including kind of have to switch to a brush to kind of get in the pumpkin there. And I just go over everything with that stain, and then I wipe it off with a paper towel. You can see that beautiful wood grain coming through. I love that. That looks so pretty. And this is going to be a really easy fall sign DIY. I absolutely love how it turned out. For the little bump out pumpkin, the best way I've found to paint that is just to use a paint pen. So I'm just using a Posca white paint pen and just going over this. Now, since I stained everything, that darker stain does want to come through the white a little bit. And I really want the white to pop because I'm also going to have some white writing on this sign. So I do have to go over this a couple of times just to get it bright white. Like right now it looks white, but once I dry it, you can see it kind of faded a little bit. So I'm just going to go over it again. And I want to paint this the white, and then I also want to have some blue in there for coastal fall. So all of the greenery above and below, I'm also going to paint. You can still see the etching through the stain, so it's really easy to, just like a coloring book, I just go in with my paint pen. I chose like a beachy blue color, and I am just going to fill in everything that you see. Now, it's like a greenery, but I want it to look more like coral or seaweed or something like that, which is one reason why I chose this blue color. And I don't want this to be a very colorful sign. I want it to have some beachy blues and whites along with that wood that kind of looks like almost a driftwood tone. And so I just kind of fill them in. I'm going to put some little sea creatures over there as well to help with the coastal feel. And we're also going to be adding some other beach touches as well. Pretty easy to do. Just kind of have to color within the lines. Sometimes I don't, but I'm trying the best that I can just to kind of work with what I've got. And these signs like this from the Dollar Tree can be great for crafting because it is, you know, a raw product where you can stain and paint, but it's also kind of giving you the guidelines if you don't want to freehand all this stuff, which I would rather not. Down here, it's a little bit more like a fall leaf, but I went ahead and did that too. And then I went to my Cricut Joy Extra and used some white vinyl to cut down the word. I'm not going to do a stencil or anything. I just cut out the vinyl, and I will share this free SVG with you in the description of this video. It's going to say Autumn by the Sea. Something simple and pretty, but I thought it would work well with this. So I'm just going to go ahead and weed this out. This is the Cricut permanent vinyl. I find that it's really cheap on Amazon for my Cricut Joy Extra, but I do notice that I have to use the Cricut transfer paper. Otherwise, it just doesn't want to come off with my favorite paper transfer paper that I usually use. But since I stained that sign, I do kind of want the permanent vinyl so that it's going to stay on there as opposed to the removable. So that looks pretty good. Not too much damage. And I am just going to put this right over here on the side. And you could always freehand this if you don't have a Cricut. But since I do, I thought I would make my life a little bit easier. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the transfer tape. I think that's looking really pretty. Really goes with the sign. And then I picked up these little starfish actually on Temu. They're just like the ones from Dollar Tree, but they're a little bit smaller. So I chose those instead. And super easy. They're like not real starfish. They're like resin mold. And so they're really easy to attach to craft projects like this with just a little bit of hot glue. Now I do want the sign to be a little bit chunkier, so I'm going to frame it out with some Dollar Tree white nautical rope. It's going to make it less thin. It's also going to give it another coastal touch. But I also don't want to block the hanger on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and take some twine and I'm simply just going to tie that off on both sides. So when I go around to frame it out with the rope, I will kind of sandwich this in and I won't have to worry about adding that later. I'm going to start right here at the bottom with my rope and I am just going to frame it all the way around. Now the sign itself is pretty thin, so I did find that it was a little bit easier to add the hot glue to the rope itself. This is like the thicker white rope, but you could use whatever you can find at Dollar Tree. I know it's always kind of hit or miss. And I'm just going to do that all the way around. Now, I'm not really going to add a bow or anything to this on the bottom where the rope comes together, but I am going to show you a little trick to kind of make that blend in and look a little bit better. So I just work one section at a time so my hot glue doesn't really set up, about a quarter of the way around. And then I'm just going to cut it here at the bottom. That's where it's going to kind of go together. And I hot glue this remaining piece on. It's looking so coastal and cute. Now where the two ropes come together there at the bottom, you can try to blend it together. I didn't really like the fact that you could see like the seam. Even when I tried to kind of disguise it, I'm going to use just some macrame cord from the Dollar Tree to kind of disguise it. It's the same kind of material, just way thinner. So what I'm going to do is kind of make it look like the rope is wrapped down here, like you would wrap like a rope in to make it not fray. So I just attach it with hot glue and cut it. It's going to need about 4 of them side by side to completely cover that transition and make it look kind of more intentional here. So I glue them all side by side on the inside of the rope there, and then I wrap them around like that. And then I'm just going to attach it here to the back with a little bit of hot glue. And I like that a little bit better. It just makes it look a little bit more finished. And I love this sign, Autumn by the Sea. I think it turned out so pretty for fall. And you know, only a couple of items from the Dollar Tree. I did get the starfish on Temu. I do like the size of those. You can get a similar product to that on Amazon as well. I think I have some of those in my Amazon shop actually. But this is how it turned out. What do you guys think about my Autumn by the Sea sign? I love that saying. And I really love the simplicity of this one. Now the next DIY doesn't really need much. I got this at Dollar Tree Plus for $5 and I thought it looked so coastal. This great pumpkin. So all I'm going to do is remove what's already on here because it's more of a traditional fall and I am going for coastal fall today. And it was wired on there. It was just kind of having to pull it apart to kind of see how it was wired on there. Now it is hollow and it is open on the bottom. I did think about filling it up with seashells, but I really liked kind of just the simplicity of this and the beautiful weaving on there. well worth $5 because that would have been a lot of work to try to DIY this one. And it looks like it's put together pretty well. I was just making sure there wasn't any loose ends. I'm going to do a very simple decor here on the top just to give it that coastal vibe compared to what it had. I just used some Dollar Tree Spanish moss and just a little amount. I'm just hot gluing that around the pumpkin stem, which is actually pretty nice too. That doesn't need to be replaced or anything like that. So we're just going to dress this one up a bit. I have a little starfish that I actually got at the antique mall near me and a seashell from Dollar Tree. And I am just going to use those to decorate the top of it. I like the starfish being white like that, but I thought we could add a little bit of color for the seashell. I'm just painting it light blue. I think this is the Cloudless, the very light blue by Apple Barrel. And I just go over it with a couple coats. It's going to kind of serve the same purpose as like a pumpkin leaf on the top. It's kind of got a similar shape. And then I kind of want you to be able to see the details on this. So I'm just going to go back and kind of distress those with a little bit of ivory just to bring out the great texture on it and make it not all just one color. But I think that looks pretty good. I do want the starfish to be on front. I want that to be the star of the show. So I just attached that with a dot of hot glue. Easy enough to remove if I needed to decorate this another way. And in the back, I'm going to kind of glue the blue shell, kind of standing up a little bit so that you can see it. And that is all I'm going to do to this one. I think it looks really coastal like this. So just a little bit more Spanish moss right here just to kind of even it out. And this one is ready to go. I'm so glad I found this. They also had acorns. I got one of those as well. When I saw these at Dollar Tree Plus, I usually don't buy anything in that section because it's more expensive, but I had to have it because I knew I could make a really fun coastal pumpkin with this, and this is how this one turned out. Now, I would be curious to see how it would look with like the seashells inside of it. I did have some white seashells, and I really did consider it, but I really liked the weaving on it. Isn't this so pretty? Okay, the next fall DIY, I picked up one of these baskets from the Dollar Tree. It's made out of plastic. I chose this white clear material because I thought it would be easiest to paint. And what I'm going to try to do is DIY my own like tobacco basket. Normally they're not as high as the sides on this. And so I'm going to try cutting it off. I did have to switch to my heavy duty scissors because it is kind of a thick plastic. But what I'm doing is just cutting it off after kind of the first row of the side because I don't want it to be super big. Now, if you wanted to leave it all together, you could have kind of a tobacco basket with like taller sides, but I wanted to kind of try to make it look like a tobacco basket as much as I can, and they don't go up this far on the side. So I just cut it all the way around to shorten it. And then I do need to do something about the sides of it to kind of make it look like a basket. But the first thing I'm going to do is paint it. So I chose this color. I think it's a teddy bear color actually from Target. It's the closest I could get to kind of a basket shade. And I think that's going to work. I'm just going to use like a chunky brush from the Dollar Tree and go all over it. Just painting this, and it was so easy to paint. I'm glad that I got the white color. They do have these in all different colors though. And I just go around the inside, and I don't really care if I get great coverage on it. I do want it to kind of look like basket material, which would vary in color a little bit. So I'm just going over it with one coat. Just something really simple there on the inside of it. Now you're also going to be able to see the outside, and so I do go around the edges and paint that as well, but I'm not going to bother doing the back. You're not going to be able to see it, but if you wanted to, you always could. You can kind of see through it since it's kind of that white translucent material. And this is what it looks like all dried. Now for the weaving for the basket around the sides and to kind of clean that up, I'm actually just going to be using lunch bags from the Dollar Tree. So I just grab a stack of them and I'm going to cut the side. So I have like a folded piece and probably about a 1/2 inch. I just cut a strip of those where I have that they'll be able to open. I do need to cut like the bottom of the bag off of these though, so they don't have all this crazy stuff going on in the bottom. I just want the strips, and I can piece them together. It's going to go around the sides of the tobacco basket and kind of give it that basket feel. So I'm going to try the other side here again, cutting about a 1/2 inch to get some more strips and cutting off the bottom of those. It doesn't really take as much as you would think. I'm going to go with that for now. So let's go ahead and also cut like that bumpy part off of the top of the lunch bag, so I don't have to fool with that when I'm attaching it. But see, since I cut the edges, now I have a nice folded piece that I can fold over the top. It is going to cover up all of those edges where I cut the plastic, and it's going to make it look like the side of a basket would. So I'm just going to open that up and go in with some hot glue. I started out doing hot glue on both at once, but you really have to work quickly for that. I do switch up only hot gluing one side at a time. Once I get about halfway around it, it was a little bit easier to work with it. But as you can see now, it has that side like a tobacco basket would, and the color is pretty close to what I painted it, so it kind of blends in well. I was really looking for stuff at the Dollar Tree that I can make a tobacco basket out of, because I think they're so fun to decorate, and I thought it'd be really fun for fall. So you can see my first piece didn't make it all the way around, but that's okay. You can always kind of start and stop wherever you want on this, and I just have it kind of wrap all the way around the corner, just pinching that and just kind of sandwiching the top of the plastic in there. And we're going to keep going, especially if you're adding the hot glue on both like this, and you're going around the corner, it can get a little dicey here. So I did have a little short on this side, but it was kind of attached already. So we're going to make it work. We can always patch that and make it look a little bit better too. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go ahead and cut one of these strips like in half. Make a little patch here for where it doesn't quite match up and I was a little bit short, just to blend it and again make it look like a basket. Now a lot of times I notice the tobacco baskets also have like the X pattern on the back of the basket, and we're going to try to find out a Dollar Tree solution to that as well. This is about how far I made it when I was like, I really should start like just hot gluing one section at a time, and this definitely made it a lot easier. So I just put hot glue on half of it, put it on there overlapping and going around the corner, and then once I have it on there, I can go in and add more hot glue to glue this down, and it did go on a lot easier and a lot cleaner using that method. Almost done. I think one more strip here will do the trick. Now, I didn't really want to use the lunch bags for the crisscross. I would have to cut a pretty tiny strip to kind of be the same diameter as all of the cross rows there on the plastic. So I wanted something really skinny, and I ended up going with just a Dollar Tree grass skirt from the summer section. The width of this was about the same of the basket, and I can always paint it to kind of make it blend in a little bit, but I definitely wanted that crisscross field there. So I just take the grass skirt and I just smooth it out as flat as I can get it, so it will be one flat strip going across. And then I'm just going to start with hot glue here in the corner and kind of glue that down in there, having it crisscross to the other corner so I know exactly where I need to attach it. And then I just hot glue it as I go. You don't really have to do it every section. Every other section's pretty good, just to get it tight against the back. It's not really going to serve any kind of functional purpose. It's just for decor. So it's okay that it's made out of that lightweight material like that. So I just cut it off, and we're going to do the same thing going the other direction. And I've seen some people make tobacco baskets from Dollar Tree, but a lot of them used Easter baskets from Dollar Tree that they took apart, and there is no way for me to get some Easter baskets right now, but my stores do still have the grass skirts in the summer section left over. And I just crisscross Again, every other, and then I go all the way up along the side for this. Now that I have it attached, I just kind of need to make it the same color to blend in. So I'm using that same teddy bear color. And I am just lightly painting it. It's not going to take much to paint this, but it's going to make it blend in for that basket feel. And we're almost done with our DIY tobacco basket. I really love how this turned out, and I thought it would be so fun to decorate for coastal fall. I thought about painting it like white or ivory as well, but I really wanted it to kind of look like a basket, and I thought the brown color helps with that a little bit. Now to decorate it for like seagrass, I'm going to use some of this fall pampas grass that's this nice like tan color. And I'm going to do that over on the right. I do want to separate it though, so I'm just going to use my wire cutter and kind of see what's going on. I want them all to kind of go up the sides like that. They are a little long. So what I'm going to do is just cut them in individual pieces, and we're going to decorate this tobacco basket kind of like you would decorate a wreath, where you can kind of zip tie, greenery, decor, all these things in place to decorate it. And I've only DIY'd like a teeny tiny tobacco basket that I got at Pop Shelf. So this is the first time I've done a larger one like this. I love how it turned out. So I just used some Dollar Tree zip ties, and I zip tie the pampas grass. And I do that with 3 tall pieces on 3 different like crossbars here, making sure I don't attach to the grass skirt one. I have one left. I just make it a little bit shorter, and I can kind of have it go across to give it a little bit more of a 3D look. And again, I just use a zip tie to attach this one as well. I want there to be pumpkins and fall things, but also coastal things. And I'm using one of the garden stakes from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. I stocked up on a lot of these. The seahorses, I really love them. Super easy to get them off the stake. You just grab them with a pair of pliers, bend it back and forth, and it should pop right off. Now, I did not really want to glue it. I know that metal has a hard time gluing and staying on. And so I'm actually going to tie it on, and you won't be able to see this in the final project, but I just start here at the tail, and I use some twine, and I'm simply going to tie that to the basket. I'm going to do that in 2 different spots just to make sure that it stays sturdy, but I think that's going to work a lot better than trying to glue the metal, because I always have trouble with it falling apart when I try to glue it with hot glue or something like that. So I get it right where I want it. I'm also going to tie down this, and I will have some items down there that is going to kind of mask that so you won't be able to see it, but I think that's going to work. Now for hay bales, they have these little mini hay bales from the Dollar Tree, and then they also have like a larger one. These are a little bit too small, but I thought I could use multiple like that to kind of fill it in, and maybe we could stack some fall pumpkins on there. These are like the ivory clip pumpkins, but I love the neutral color. I think it's going to go great with the coastal fall. So I just removed the clips from the bottom. We're going to use all 3. And we're going to stack them on the hay bales, kind of like stair-stepping the way up. So we're going to need more hay bales because I want them all to kind of be different heights, kind of like that. So kind of set up what you want to do with yours. We're going to have that go right in front of the pampas grass here. Since I have to use more than one, I'm just going to have to kind of glue them together. This is the back row, and then stack them and glue them as well. Really easy to work with. I wish they were a little bit bigger. They almost need like an in-between size of the 2 sizes of the hay bales at the Dollar Tree they carry. But I think this is going to work. So I have 4 over on the right and then 2 right there, kind of forming like little stair steps. And then I'm going to attach my pumpkin on top. Hot gluing everything on. I don't want anything falling off the tobacco basket because we're going to be hanging this on the wall. Another pumpkin right here, and then the final pumpkin just against the basket itself like that. Super cute. That gave me a nice fall touch. I also thought I could bring in some of the Dollar Tree burlap leaves, and this could almost work like a seaweed. You know how seahorses like to wrap their tail around seaweeds so they don't like have to swim? I am going to do that with the fall leaves. I thought that would be fun. So they have wires on them, which makes it easier to attach. So I kind of put it here where my seahorse is wrapped around it. And then I can wrap that wire here in the back around the cage of the basket. I'm going to have one going that direction. The burlap looks really coastal too. I thought I really needed a second one though to make it make a little bit more sense. So I'm going to do the same thing. It has a wire. So I just kind of work it down in there where I want it and arrange it before I attach it with wire for the proper height and everything. I think that looks pretty good. A few more touches and this is going to be complete. I love how it turned out. I'm just arranging everything and I thought that it'd be really cute to do a little mini pennant banner across the top, and I wanted another pop of blue. So I'm using some of this blue ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I get this every year at Easter. I don't know why they always have it at Easter, but I love the color. It's really beachy. And I just cut a little triangle for a little mini pennant. And I'm going to use that as a guide to cut out 3 more. I want to spell out the word fall, and I thought it would be really fun to kind of stamp it on the fabric ribbon. So they don't have to be perfect. I just want 4 triangles of those. And I actually picked up my letter stamps at Dollar General. I noticed that my Dollar Tree did have some letter stamps the other day, but they're really small. And these are kind of small anyway, so I think that I like these a little bit better. But they do have ink pads, this like little blotter at Dollar Tree as well. And we're just going to spell out the word fall just by stamping that on the fabric. Really easy. I think that blue is going to look really great. It's going to match with the seahorse. And I'm just going to flip them over and just cut some twine, attaching it with hot glue to make a really easy little mini pennant banner. I always love doing these for like tier trays and stuff like that and for my coffee bar. And so this is no exception. I think this is going to be really cute and finish off our tobacco basket. I really love how this turned out. My first like real tobacco basket DIY, and I love it. So I'm going to have it kind of go to the right, and I can use that twine to just tie it in place. I don't have a lot of room to work with there, so I'm going to tie it as close to the side as I can, kind of drape it down like that, and tie it here to the other side. Now you could use this just on a shelf. You could lean it up against something. I'm actually going to hang mine on the wall. But I think either way would look really good. So just arrange it, and this is how it turned out. Our coastal fall tobacco basket. I love it. I love the combination of the beachy touches, the burlap, the pampas grass, the seahorse, combined with the traditional fall decor like the hay bales and the pumpkins, and that tobacco basket was really fun to DIY as well. Hey guys, have you checked out my new website yet? It's craftybeach.net. I'm archiving all my YouTube crafts over there. You can find the photos of my DIYs that you can pin on Pinterest. Now the next DIY is super easy. I just picked up one of these wood pallet signs from the Dollar Tree, and we're going to make just kind of a square coastal pumpkin. The first step is just to paint it. I'm using my favorite color of blue with apple barrel, the cloudless. I get this on Amazon. You can get it for Prime and it's super cheap, or sometimes at Walmart. But it's a beautiful beachy color. You don't really have to add anything to it. It's that perfect soft beachy blue. And I go over the front of the palette. I am using a brush so I can kind of get in between all the different grooves of this. And then I'm just going to use some of those little mini jenga blocks from Dollar Tree to make a stand because I want it to stand up on its own. So I'm going to need a total of 4, I think, down here for the stand. I was trying to decide if I should have these on their side, and that's what I ended up going with. That way it'll slightly lean back and I won't have to worry about it tipping over. But I also wanted to stick out further too, so I glued 2 together like that. So a total of 4 and then I also need one at the top because I just need somewhere to attach the pumpkin stem. And I want to hide that on the back as well, so I just attach that. And since this is a standalone pumpkin, I don't really want you to see all the unfinished back of this, so I might as well paint it too. So once I got all of the wood attached to it, I'm going to paint it now. I always find that the wood on wood glues a little bit better if you don't worry about paint first. Just on the raw wood. And I'm just going over my DIY stand, anything that you might be able to see when this pumpkin is standing on its own. And this was such an easy fall DIY. I'm just going to add a few coastal touches. I have some of these sand dollars from the Shore Living line at Dollar Tree. And they're not real sand dollars. They're like a plastic resin as well. I'm going to have it go this direction. It's going to fill up most of the pumpkin. And so I think that's going to look really cute. I just use hot glue to attach it right about here. And then I also picked out a wood stem, one that kind of curves a little bit to the right for my pumpkin stem. I get these at Dollar Tree as well. And if I glue it onto the Jenga block like that, it will kind of go off to the side. And I think that's going to look really good. Now, it was a little simple, my little square pumpkin, but I thought I could add a few more coastal touches just to give it a little bit more oomph. So I'm just going to take a little bit of Spanish moss. Dollar Tree has not been getting that in for me, and I'm almost out. That's all I have. And I am going to just attach it with hot glue. I do want it to be a little bit asymmetrical, so I make it a little bit higher on the left and trim it up a little bit. I thought we could do that to kind of look like the beach. You kind of see this stuff, you know, the seaweed on the beach that washes up. And a lot of times there's seashells in it too. So I'm going to add some seashells. These are the little tiny seashells. I get these on Amazon. You get this giant jar of them. I think there's like 2,000 in here. Really inexpensive. And I do have those linked in my Amazon shop. They're very similar to the tiny bottled, glass bottled shells from the Dollar Tree. But I've been having trouble finding those lately. So I did get some on Amazon. And this is how my little square coastal pumpkin turned out. Really easy to do. If you didn't want to do coastal, you could always decorate this with more of a traditional decor besides a sand dollar, but I think that looks really cute on there. And I'm glad I decided to add a few more beachy touches to the bottom of our little pumpkin. Now for the next DIY, I picked up one of these like little segmented pumpkin signs from the Dollar Tree with the little bump out panels. I'm just going to remove the hanger and the raffia bow on the top. The first thing I want to do is add some color to this one. And so we're just going to paint the entire thing like a bright beachy blue color. So I'm not using cloudless this time. This one is Caribbean by Delta, I believe. And it's a little bit darker than the cloudless, but kind of the same kind of tone of blue. And I just go around. I wanted to really make sure that I got all these back portions. And so I do those first with my brush to make sure I can get it as close as I can to the bump out parts. But I also want to paint the bump out parts as well. What I want to do on this one is to do like a shell encrusted pumpkin on all of the bump out parts. And I absolutely love how this turned out. It's so beautiful. So once my paint is dry, I'm going back after those Amazon seashells. There's kind of a variety in size. There's really tiny ones in here. And there's also some like kind of medium sized ones. These are also the ones that I have from the Dollar Tree. And for the tiny ones, I like to use Dollar Tree's tacky glue. To attach them, I find that's an easy way to do it. It holds really well. It's a really thick glue, but it's going to dry clear where you won't be able to see it. So just using a paintbrush, I'm going to do about half of the pumpkin wood bump out at a time. But I also want it to be super thick. I kind of clean up my glue as I go. I don't really want it to go down off the sides of it. And then I'm just going to use the really tiny seashells. and just start putting those all over, gluing those to the side. I want it to be as full as I can with a wide variety of all different colors and shapes and sizes of shells. So this part is really fun to do. As you can see, the Dollar Tree, they do have the small tannish seashells that are about that small, but they're not quite this small. I was able to use a lot because they were so small, the ones from Amazon. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing here on the bottom, another thick coat of that. Now you will have to let this sit a little bit to dry. Mine dried a little bit faster than I expected. I did help it along a little bit with my heat gun. But just like before, I'm using all of the small shells and just making sure everything is kind of random. But also I want to make sure all the places like have seashells. We're going to do the same thing here on the right side. We're going to have it be symmetrical. So like little tiny seashells on both sides. And then we're going to do something a little bit different in the middle. So again, half a section at a time makes it a little bit easier to work with because you're adding so many of these little seashells to it. And again, I just pick out all the small ones, scatter them out. I don't really want like the same exact shell next to each other, but there was a wide variety, so it was pretty easy to fill it out. We're going to do the same thing here on the bottom. Now for the middle section, I went back and forth whether I should do it with shells or if I should attach burlap or writing. I think all of them would look good, but I did end up doing seashells for the middle too. But I'm not going to be doing the tiny seashells that we used for the sides, just for a little bit more variety. We're going to use the bigger ones. So some of the shells in that container from Amazon are a little bit larger, as are the ones from Dollar Tree that I have there in the little organizer. That organizer is from the Dollar Tree toy aisle. It works great for working with those shells and not having to have to get them out of the little glass bottles every single time. And now since these are larger, as you can see, I'm using hot glue to attach them. I thought that would be a little bit sturdier. The tacky glue does a great job with the little tiny shells, but I didn't know if it would be quite strong enough for the larger shells. So again, I'm just trying to scatter them out very randomly, trying to mix up what's next to what, and again, trying to stick with like the more medium-sized shells. And just hot gluing those all over. I do want it to look encrusted like the sides as well. And we're going to add a few more beachy touches to this one as well once we get all of the seashells attached. I'm adding so many seashells to this little pumpkin that it was a little bit time consuming, but I think it looks so beautiful at the end. I'm so glad that I did it. And if you don't have the tiny seashells like this, you have more of the medium, you could just hot glue these all over all three of the sections. It would be really pretty, no matter what size shell you have. Now for the hanger, I'm just going to go ahead and replace it with some twine, just to kind of replace what was on there before. I always remove those because I'm always going to paint or stain or something like that. I don't want to get any of that on the hanger. And then I thought I could also do like a coastal or beachy touch for the pumpkin stem. Even though it has a wood one on there already, I thought I could add some driftwood. This is the driftwood that I get at Target. It gives you some nice flat wide pieces of driftwood. You can always piece up some smaller ones, but this one is just about the right width for the pumpkin stem. So I think that's going to work. I kind of like it upside down better like that with the jagged edge going down towards the pumpkin. I do want it to have a little bit more color, so I'm just going to use some antique wax by Waverly and a baby wipe and just give it a light stain to give it a little bit more character before we add it to the pumpkin. I also want to outline the sections of the pumpkin, and so I've got another coastal idea for something I can do for that as well. Just to add another little detail, but it's looking really beautiful so far already. And that is to use some Dollar Tree rope. So this is the brown rope and the thinner rope. And I think this is going to look great. I'm going to kind of burn off any fuzzies here before I even get started. And I am just going to line the section. So just like when you're lining a lot of pumpkin signs, you're going to have like a C section on one side and then like a circle here in the middle. And so I start with the middle section first. I just hot glue it in the gap between the two wood cutouts. And I'm really glad I decided to do this. It really took the pumpkin and just made it that much more special. So I go all the way around like an oval shape here, hot gluing that down, having that kind of hide underneath my pumpkin stem there where it comes together. And then we're going to do like a C side for this side. And the rope is a little thinner than the width of the outer sections, but that's okay. I'll just kind of center where I hot glue it so you can still see the blue peeking out on the sides, which is really pretty. I'm going to stop it right here so I don't overlap too much rope here on the bottom of the pumpkin. So I just do a C shape on this side. I'm going to do like a backward C with that same piece of rope. And as you can see, it really adds just another fun texture, coastal piece to this, and it looks great combined with the seashells. Now this would look great displayed on its own, like a stand-up sign. It was a hanging sign, so that is how I'm going to use mine, and this is how it turned out. Look at all of those different seashells. You can see how many are on there and how the tacky glue dries clear where you can't see it. And it really looks like a piece of art with all of those seashells on there. Some of those were really tiny, but I absolutely love how it turned out. This one's really simple. I'm going to show you how to do like a coastal pumpkin display using one of these straw pumpkin picks from the Dollar Tree, one of their wood slice wood ornaments, and one of their glass candle holders. We're going to use that for a display to display the pumpkin like a work of art. Now this does come on a dowel. I just go ahead and use some pliers to remove that from the bottom. And I don't like the pumpkin stem on these. I think that makes them look like apples. I thought if I remove that, add a more substantial pumpkin stem to this, it might make it look more like a pumpkin and less like an apple. I've actually crafted candy apples with these because I think they look like apples. I'm going to replace it with something a little bit better. So I'm going through my wood stems I have from Dollar Tree, trying to find one that is a little thicker in curves. I like that one. I think that's going to work. But I do still need to get that dowel of the old one out. I was able to finally find it with my pliers, add a little bit of hot glue, and then just kind of wedge this down in there. And I think it does look more like a pumpkin with a new stem. It was just too tiny, like a little apple stem. The ornament has a hole in it, but I'm not too worried about that. We're going to cover that up. I'm just going to go ahead and remove this tag from the candle holder, and a pumpkin on a display like this just makes it look so much more special. I thought the wood slice would add a nice coastal touch as well. So I'm just using some hot glue, and it's like a light beachy blue candle holder I got at Dollar Tree, and then glue the wood slice on there, and we can display the pumpkin just like this. Now I do want to add some more materials down there, and so I'm going to use some Spanish moss and some seashells to make this nice and coastal. So I just do a little ring of hot glue, and I don't want to waste too much of this. I'm just going to put it around the edges of the wood slice so it'll be kind of peeking out from the bottom of the straw pumpkin. And I love how this looks with the new stem on there. It almost looks like the ones that you can get at Target's dollar spot sometimes. For the seashells, these are the ones from the Dollar Tree. You can see I do still have a few glass bottles because I love to stock up on these. But I want a variety of different seashells, so I'm just picking different ones and hot gluing those around the perimeter too. So those will kind of peek out from the bottom of the pumpkin on display as well. Just trying to trim up a little bit of my Spanish moss and make sure that all of my hot glue strings are kind of dissolved with my heat gun. I'm going to go ahead and glue it on here so it stays in place right here on the top. Now, I don't want to decorate the top of the pumpkin too much because I have the seashells and stuff like that at the bottom. So I'm just going to use one little tiny starfish. And I get these on Amazon. They're real little starfish and they're so cute. I'm going to glue an ivory one right here on the side of the stem just to give it a little bit more interest. And this is how it turned out. I think it looks so much better than it did before. The wood stem for the pumpkin stem is definitely a winner. And I really love how this looks. I really think the straw look of it, the pumpkin, makes it look coastal already. And I love those candlesticks. I'm always DIYing and crafting with those. They're so versatile and there's so many different things that you can do with them. Now, the next DIY, I wanted to do a sea glass leaf. Now, I want to stand it up on its own. So originally I was going to use one of these little wood frame holders just popping off the frame for the stand, but I kind of forgot how heavy the sea glass is from the Dollar Tree. So that method ended up not working, but we are still doing a sea glass leaf and you'll see what I end up using. Now I'm going to go ahead and stain everything. I have some of that Antique Wax by Waverly mixed with water, and I'm just going to do a light stain on everything. I'm going to be covering this with sand, sea glass, so many things, but I want to go ahead and give it at least a light stain if there's any areas that you can still see in the finished project. And originally I was going to have it stand with that stand, and so you were going to be able to see the front and the back. So I did go ahead and stain both sides of it just to make sure the back looked nice too. But I do end up, again, using something besides the stand because once I got to putting all of the glass on here, it really got heavy and kind of unwieldy on a thin sign like this from the Dollar Tree. So that looks pretty good. I'm just wiping off the excess Antique Wax by Waverly with paper towel, and I make sure to get it really good and dry. Now, these are the new sea glass that I found at the Dollar Tree. I like them because they had two different color varieties. These don't have that royal blue in them, which I usually don't use. It's more of the teals, the greens, and the white. And they're very flat. They're not the super fat, thick ones like they used to be either. So they're easier to craft with. I really enjoyed working with these. So I have 2 packages of them. I'm going to use all the colors included. And I'm using this glue. It's like a super glue fix-it adhesive that I got at Dollar Tree. I thought it would be a little bit stronger than hot glue because I definitely don't want these sea glass pieces falling off. I like the fact that some of them are a little bit triangular in shape, so I'm kind of going to try to play on that for the points of my leaves here, so it kind of makes sense. But at the same time, I'm trying to alternate the colors between the teal, the green, and the clear. And I'm not doing them super close together, but relatively. I want to leave room. At first, I was going to use some grout, but I must have not got the lid on my grout very much because it was dried out. So I ended up using sand instead, and I'm glad because the sand looks really cool. So just doing one section at a time. I did notice that this glue was strong, but it did take some time to dry. Hot glue would have been faster, but I don't think that it would have been really sturdy. Since I'm going to have this like standing up, I don't want the sea glass falling off of it. And I love how this turned out. It was such a work of art. Anytime I can make something with like stones or sea glass or other materials like that, I just love how it turns out. And this is no exception. So I even have some smaller ones. So I'm going to go ahead and fill up the stem too, and if I have any gaps that are big enough anywhere, I'll go in and kind of see if I can work in a smaller piece and glue that all down. It's looking so pretty. This is what I ended up using instead of the stand. This is a thrift find sign that I can flip, and it is just the perfect size for this. And it's got this nice thick wood frame, so it should stand up on its own, and it will definitely be heavy enough to hold up the weight of the sea glass. Now it does have words all over it. They're actually fall words, but I'm just going to paint that all white to mask that so I can go over it with kind of an abstract, very abstract, like ocean scene. I thought that would be a fun background for my fall leaf made out of sea glass. Now the writing was quite evident, so I did go over it with 2 coats of white to make sure that you're not going to be able to read any of those words through the final project. So I'm letting the glue set up on my sea glass while I'm preparing this sign before I go back and add sand and everything else to my sea glass leaf. And this does have a wood frame. I want to make sure that I don't get the paint on it. And this is going to be the easiest beach scene ever. I used cloudless for the top half. And you're basically just going straight across with the paint. And this is going to be the sky. And I'm always saying that anybody can do an abstract beach scene, and you can. All you have to do is have a couple different colors of blue. I chose 4, and I ended up only using 2 because I was able to blend 2 of the blues together too. So for the water part, I'm using this color, which is turquoise. And again, just going side to side. I want it to look just as a very muted ocean background, not a lot of details. So when the 2 colors come together, I can blend those colors together, which is going to give me almost a 3rd color to like let the ocean slowly blend into the sky. Super easy. I'm not doing any waves or clouds or anything like that. Just the simple blues. This is what it looks like once it dried, so I can go ahead and remove my painter's tape. And now we can finish working on this. I think I have them dried enough that I can add the sand. To do that, I'm just using school glue, and I just go in and fill in all of the spaces in between the sea glass. This is one reason I didn't really want them touching, is because I wanted enough room to be able to put sand in between each one. I want it to look like sea glass all over a beach, is the kind of the look I'm going for. And this does not dry quickly, so you can do the entire thing at once, which I would suggest, because once you start adding the sand, it's going to go everywhere. So this is the Dollar Tree tan sand. You could also use the white. I think either one would work pretty well. Just making sure I have glue everywhere, because once I start, that's going to be on there for sure. And I just start sprinkling it all over. You're going to want to put more on there than you need just to make sure you have enough. Kind of covering all of my sea glass as I go. I kind of just gonna brush it off my sea glass to make sure that I have a nice thick coat of the sand all over the back of the leaf. And trying to clean off the sea glass a little bit too. I wasn't sure if this was going to be strong enough to hold it on. I usually like to glue from the top, and I do end up doing that. I'm not sure if it really needed it though. But again, just like with the sea glass and the seashells earlier, you're going to have to give it a little time to set up before you work on it any further. I do want to make sure that I get the sand off the sea glass at least as much as I can, and then I can start drying it with my heat gun. This is a spray adhesive I'm going to use. This is Gorilla Glue. I actually picked this up on Amazon because I was having trouble finding this spray glue at Dollar Tree lately. I kind of wish I hadn't sprayed it because it gave a weird texture to the sea glass instead of that smooth look that it had before. You can kind of see like a tacky texture on it, but it probably did serve a good purpose, keeping the sand on there. And so then I wanted a little bit more whitewashing to this. I thought it was a little bright. So I just distress it with a little bit of ivory and a baby wipe just to mute my blues down a little bit more before we add our sea glass leaf to it. And that's kind of more the color I was going for. I'm going to have it upside down. I just add hot glue to the back. and glue this on. It fits perfectly on this thrifted sign that I had. And just gluing that down. Now, I went back and forth whether I should add a bow, any other kind of details, but I have so much detail on there already with the beautiful sea glass and the sand that I really don't think it needs any more. So again, I just tried to clean up the sea glass a little bit just to make sure there's no like glue stuck on the surface of it. But look how beautiful that turned out. And I really love how the new sea glass at the Dollar Tree. Definitely easier to work with that without the really thick rock pieces. All these were really flat. And I love this color variety without the royal blue in it for sure. And this is how it turned out. It's definitely a work of art. I really love it. I hope you do too. Okay, guys, for the next set of fall DIYs, we're going to switch it up a little bit again. Everything in this set of DIYs is going to be fall DIYs that light up. I think that's really fun and cozy for fall. Enjoy. Now, the first DIY is one of these LED wood lanterns that I found at Dollar Tree for only $3. It looks like white wood. It's so cute. It has a hanger at the top. I just went ahead and removed that. And make sure that you have batteries for these Dollar Tree lights because a lot of them do not include the batteries anymore. But I kind of like the fact that they take either AAA or AA because it does make them easier to change out. Instead of, those little cell batteries that a lot of Dollar Tree lights have. Now, I want to decorate the top of it for fall, but I also want it to be like a neutral fall color scheme on this one. So I'm using one of their burlap leaves, and I am just going to hot glue it to the top and cut off the excess. It's a little bit bigger than what I need it to be. So I just kind of put it on there exactly where I kind of want it to come out and hot glue it, and then just cut off the rest of the leaf. I wish that Dollar Tree had these burlap leaves in maybe a little bit smaller size because I do find that they are too big for a lot of my projects. I am going to tack down some of the leaves though, so they will kind of go down the top of it. And we're going to decorate the top of this with some fall florals, make it look really cute, but not necessarily using like some traditional fall colors on this one. And I have about every kind of light and about every kind of color scheme for fall lights today, a wide variety. So that looks pretty good. Now what I want to do is I want to put some floral foam on the top of that to decorate. It's going to be easier to attach the greenery and the flowers that I have on there. I want to do lamb's ear. I thought that would look really pretty for fall. I love using that for fall. I know it's not traditional for fall, but it looks so great with fall decor. So I just take a little piece of the Dollar Tree floral foam and I cut just a little chunk. I'm also going to kind of make it a little bit narrower at the top just to kind of make it easier to hide. And I cut it just to the size of that little wood square there at the top. I attach it with a little bit of hot glue, and that's going to make adding the greenery to the top of this so much easier. Now, I don't want you to be able to see the green foam, so I am going to try to disguise it a little bit with some of their brown floral foam. I'm not crazy about this stuff, but I'm just going to glue a little bit on every side. The foam doesn't really like hot glue very much, but as long as I can get about at least half coverage on here, the florals and greenery will fill up the rest. I just thought this might help mask the green color because I definitely don't want any of that to show. So I do that on all the sides. It is a little bit messy to work with that stuff, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that up a little bit. This is what our lantern looks like so far. And I want to use lamb's ear. So I'm so glad Dollar Tree carries lamb's ear now. It's so pretty. I just take a bundle of 3 off and then just press it into the floral foam. It's so pretty. Over here, I want it to look a little bit different. So I did like 2 leaves that were together. When you can grab them like that and they're still together, it just makes it so much easier. I'm going to do some more back here to kind of give it a little height. And you can kind of mess with them, make them kind of go whatever direction you want them to be. I want it to be kind of cascading down the sides of the lantern. And I'm going to do like maybe 2 right up here. And that floral foam from the Dollar Tree is so soft, it works really well for that. I will add more lamb's ear, but for right now, I want to get started on the fall florals. I don't know what these are supposed to be, but they just say bouquet. And I love the neutral colors of these. So it's like an ivory leaf with like the brown middle. And I am just using my heat gun to iron these. It's such a great trick when you're working with the Dollar Tree florals. If you find that any of your leaves are bent, just a quick blast with some hot air and they just straighten right out and they look so much better. And Dollar Tree greenery has gotten so much better since I've been crafting on my channel. It's almost a pleasure to work with right now. So I just went ahead and did this one on the top. I thought I could leave the two together, but I kind of like doing each one individually so I can get it just the right height. Sometimes I had to like cut off some of the little side plastic pieces just to give me more of a stem where I could push it in there. And I'm going to go ahead and use the entire bundle of these to cover the top of it with the white flowers. I had somebody being really mean to me on my other YouTube channel, Crafty Little Beach, the other day, telling me that ivory flowers are not for fall. And I invite that person to go into Dollar Tree and look at the fall flowers because they have lots of ivory flowers and with the fall decor. And they're great for neutral fall. Now, these are some of the little cotton picks. I kind of had trouble finding these. I noticed they're like more crafter square, less fall, but I think they work great for fall. And they do have wires on them already, so I can use that wire to kind of just make little cotton picks that are just perfect size for this. I think I'm going to use 2 of them and kind of have them off-centered. One on the front on the right, kind of one back here, peeking up a little bit from the back, and I think that gives it a nice touch of fall as well. Now, I did want to add a little bit more lamb's ear, so I'm going to get a couple more pieces just to have kind of break up some of the white flowers and give a more leafy appearance up here. And I just want it to look like it is just completely full of flowers and greenery up here because there's really nowhere to decorate inside this lantern because all of the room is taken up by the candle that's in there. And I think that looks really good. I'm just making sure it is nice and full. And I kind of like the height everything is adjusted at. And the great thing about this is it's got like the battery operated candles. So it kind of flickers and doesn't just light up. So let me show you how this turned out. I think it is so pretty. I absolutely love this lantern. I was thrilled when I found it at Dollar Tree just the other day. It is well worth $3 and so much easier than trying to DIY that from scratch. This is what it looks like lit up. So pretty, and I love the neutral fall color scheme. I've been using that a lot this year with my fall DIYs here on YouTube. So pretty, I love it. And I did want to show you on this one because it does flicker, kind of that effect. It's the only one that does that today. Hey guys, are you enjoying today's video? If you are, be sure to smash that like button. It always helps my videos do better here on YouTube. Okay, the next Dollar Tree DIY, I picked up one of these acorns from the Dollar Tree Plus. It was $5, which is a little bit more than I would normally spend, but it was so beautiful and such high quality that I thought I could DIY with this. And I'm just going to go ahead and remove the leaves that were on there. I want to kind of change up the color scheme on this one, make it more neutral fall. So I'm just going to snip off those leaves. I will use those on another project today. And then basically I wanted the acorn. They were wired on there pretty good though, but cutting the leaves off did make it easier to get it off because I went to three Dollar Trees looking for pine cones and nobody has any, and I really wanted the pine cone for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that from the berries. I can save the berries and leaves, but I definitely want the little pine cone for this DIY. Now, since it's got a hole in the bottom and it's open inside, I thought it'd be great to light it up with some of these fairy garden lights that I found at Dollar Tree. There are 10 little LED white lights on these, and they're great because they're battery operated, so you're going to be able to use those inside your house. So basically, you just have to untangle the string. I think this is going to be enough lights to fill up the inside of that acorn, even though it's kind of big. I did a coastal DIY with the pumpkin that's just like that from the Dollar Tree Plus, and it turned out so cute too. It was so easy. So I just popped in 2 AA batteries. That's what the fairy garden lights take. And then I'm going to use some of the ivory sweater pumpkins and some of the burlap pumpkin clips to put on the inside. I wish they sold these without the little clips attached. If you do remove them with heat, they do come off a little bit easier, but sometimes, like the burlap ones came off without any heat. I chose 3 of the ivory sweater ones and 2 of the burlap ones. Now I'm going to go ahead and just start coiling my lights and filling up that space. And one reason I wanted to put the pumpkins inside is not only for decor, but they're also going to hide the battery pack for these fairy lights. So I thought 2 different colors would look good, and it's all going to look very neutral fall. So I'm just going to go ahead and place them in there, trying to place them where I think they're going to land when I turn it upside down. And you can kind of wedge this in there, but for it to lay flat, you kind of need to kind of pop it all the way in there. But I wanted to leave it where it was accessible so I can turn the lights on and off on this one. I didn't really like that all of my ivory pumpkins went to one side and all of my burlap pumpkins went to the other side. So I'm going to put them back in there and see if they will lay better at this time. And the battery pack, it's kind of a wire structure, so you can kind of wedge it in there. And I think that looks way better. Now for the greenery, I do just want to use a little bit of lamb's ear. So I'm going to take the piece here on the top that has the 3 small leaves. I think that's going to look really cute for a little acorn leaf here. And you can kind of just work it in between the caning. It's tight enough to hold it on there without having to hot glue it. And then I'm going to take that pine cone wire and just hook that back on there. I just like the simpler decor on this compared to the fall leaves and stuff that were on there before. Quick and easy. I don't normally shop at Dollar Tree Plus, but the last 2 items I had to make an exception. This is how it turned out. This is what it looks like during the day. Our little acorn, it's so cute. It's kind of similar to an acorn basket that I got at Dollar Tree last year. That's actually a functional basket. And look how pretty it looks lit up at night. With the caning on there, it gives it just a great design, a light design all around it. Really pretty, and I am super glad I grabbed those. So if you're at a Dollar Tree Plus, you might want to try to check one of these out. Okay, for the next DIY, I found this beautiful jar at Dollar Tree today. It says Thankful. It's a square jar, and it has orange, white, and like green pumpkins on it. So I thought we would just fill the jar with the same color pumpkins, so using those little pumpkin clips, and some of the fairy garden lights. I've been really lucky about finding the fairy garden lights this year. They're not necessarily with the fairy garden stuff, but like at some of my smaller stores, they're always hanging by like the greenery in the aisle and like the sand and stuff like that. And I am definitely had a sticky tag on there, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove that with some Dollar Tree version of the Goo Gone and clean that up so we can fill this up. I wanted this one to be really simple, so I just wanted it to be like piles of the different colored pumpkins inside of it with a little bit of Spanish moss. I don't want to fill up all the area because I want some of the jar to be able to be lit up as well. A lot of these fall light projects, I wanted to make sure that I didn't fill any of them up too much so that they will light up. So again, just removing the clips on these with some heat. I wasn't sure how many I was going to need, but I thought the colors on these were perfect. The orange is the muted orange, and then there's these ivory ones, and then there's a muted green. And I love the combination of the muted orange, ivory, and muted green. I use that a lot in my fall decor. And they're actually bigger than I thought they were, so I'm probably not going to need as many as I thought. But I definitely want to make sure that I get all 3 colors in there. So just kind of trying them on first before we go ahead and add the lights and stuff like that. Now be careful if you use your heat gun to remove those clips. They do get hot. And these are the fairy garden lights we're going to use. One pack again. I'm going to kind of hide the battery pack on this one. I don't really want to put it in the jar because then I wouldn't be able to put as many pumpkins, and I already wasn't able to put as many in there as I wanted. So I'll show you how I go about hiding that. But again, just 2 AA batteries. They're pretty bright, and I think these are just such a great bargain for $1.25. I love anything that I can light up. I've done so many solar light projects here on my channel, and we have some solar light projects today as well that I thought would be fun for fall too. So that looks pretty good. Let me go ahead and remove the pumpkins. And I have a little bit of Spanish moss left from the Dollar Tree. This is it. I pretty much depleted it. My Dollar Trees have not had any Spanish moss in like 6 months. I don't know what their deal is. They need to get some in, or I'm going to have to go to Walmart, I guess. I wonder if you can order it on Amazon. I might have to look there. I hate going to Walmart. So I go ahead and start putting the lights in there and then just stacking the pumpkins as I go, just kind of coiling it around. So they're going to be like, the lights are going to be kind of evenly distributed. And I want you to be able to see them from like the outside. So I try to go around the rim as well until it is completely filled up. I'm going to hide the battery pack on the back because, again, it didn't really want to fit in there and I didn't want to take any of the pumpkins out. And so I'm just going to hide it back here because you won't be able to see it because the jar is so full. So I just use some hot glue just to tack it to the back, just so it'll stay in place and it'll kind of hide back there. And it'll be easy to be able to turn this on and off. I thought this would be a really cute light for my kitchen for fall. And I think the colors are really pretty, and the fact that it's a jar kind of goes with the kitchen theme. So I'm just going to leave the jar lid on it. I don't put the lid back on it because I want it to be kind of overflowing with the moss and the pumpkins like this. But you could put the light or the lid back on it if you want. But then you're not going to be able to hide that battery pack on the back like I did. So filling it all the way to the top. And again, I don't want to fill it too full because I still want you to be able to see the pumpkins. And this is how it turned out. So this is what it looks like lit up during the day. And I think that jar is so pretty. It's great for fall all the way through Thanksgiving. And I love a versatile fall DIY. And this is what it looks like lit up at night. It's super bright. I think this is going to make a really cute like little nightlight for my kitchen counter. I've done that color scheme for a kitchen tier tray before, and I just really love that theme for the kitchen. Day and night. Okay, for the next fall light DIY, we're actually going to light up a basket. So I found this woven basket at Dollar Tree today. I thought the colors were nice and neutral, and I want to keep that neutral fall color scheme on this DIY. I thought it'd be fun just to light up the basket with some fall items. Again, I'm going to use some of the Fairy Garden battery-operated lights. I love these. And I really wanted pine cones for this, but I couldn't find any. And I never can find them in Florida. I don't think we're a good state for that. So until Dollar Tree gets them in, I am out of luck. But I just go ahead and pop a couple of batteries in here. I always make sure they work before I go to the trouble of screwing them back on there, but I don't think I've ever had one of these not work. I get my batteries in bulk like this from Amazon in AA and AAA. I should add those to my Amazon shop. They're really a great bargain if you go through a lot of batteries with crafting or kids or anything like that, and they work really well. Now for the potpourri, since I couldn't find pine cones, I didn't want like the bright red color of the apple cinnamon, which would be more traditionally for fall. So this is more of a lemon citrusy scent, but I liked the colors better on this one because there was lots of browns and greens and kind of yellows. I'm going to use everything except for like the white parts. So I just went ahead and put my lights in there a little bit, put a little bit of potpourri down, and I'm just going to circle that around with the wire of the light. And then I thought these looked like they'd be fun for fall, the little vine balls from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to pop a couple of those in there to fill up our little fall basket. Again, wrapping the lights around them as I go. Kind of key that you keep wrapping as you add things so it will stay down the wire. And then we're going to add some of these acorns. These are the dark brown acorns. I really like the fact that they have lots of different colors to choose from in the acorns this year. So I pile like 4 in there. And again, just kind of pinching and working that in there. These baskets are pretty small. And so I'm trying to get the entire light pack in there. And I did bury the battery pack, but I did leave it towards the back where it is still accessible enough to turn it on and off. And then I just add more potpourri as I go and work those lights in there. I did want to add like a pumpkin too. I thought that would be cute just to give it one more fall touch. So I'm going to use one of the muted green pumpkins. I thought that would go really good with this color scheme and works great for more of a neutral fall. So I just pop the clip off the bottom and put that on the top of our pile here. I have a little bit of room left, so I just add a little bit more potpourri. It's really pretty to craft with, and it will even smell good. So win-win. And so this is just another way that you can light up a fall project. And I think it looks really pretty for fall. So this is the final result. I love these little baskets. They come in like square shape as well, and they also come in different colors. But I love the just regular like kind of straw color of these. I thought it would go great for a neutral fall color scheme. And I like the dark acorns in there as well. This is what it looks like lit up at night. Lots of ambience with this. And it is still possible to turn it on and off. You do just kind of have to feel through the potpourri that I put there in the basket. Again, day and night. I had so much fun putting these DIYs together for you today. I hope you're enjoying them. Now for the next light DIY, I'm using one of the classic orange pumpkin jars and a solar light. So I thought this would be a fun solar light project that I could put outside for fall. So I just go ahead and take the top off of it. It doesn't really matter which solar light you use. I was just looking for a round one that would work for the top of this jar. Now, super sticky label on this one. Gonna take a little bit of work to get that off. They also have these pumpkin glass jars in clear, and we will also be DIYing with that today. I wanted the orange one for outside because I want it to be fairly simple since it's going to be an outdoor solar light. For the bottom, I'm just going to fill it in with some of their acorns. So again, I'm using that dark color. I kind of like that dark color. And I'm just going to go ahead and add a whole package to the bottom of this. It's a heavy jar, so I think it will stay upright outside without tipping over just because of the weight of the jar. And then I just want to add a solar light to the top. It's going to light up the pumpkin jar. I do want to kind of hide the jar lid where you can screw the lid on. And I'm going to do that with just some Dollar Tree burlap. So this is the burlap roll. I'm just going to cut it down into some thin strips of ribbon. I really wish they had this at Dollar Tree, like a ribbon about this size. I would use it all of the time. And just trying to make sure it is straight. And it's going to cover like all of the little glass sections that kind of pop out there for the lid, because we won't be able to attach the lid because we're going to be putting the solar light on there. And I'm also going to line the outside of the solar light with the burlap too. You could also use twine or burlap, give you that same kind of feel. I think burlap looks great for fall with the brown color. So with my remaining piece, I'm going to use that to cut another strip, and then we can go around that silver metallic to kind of soften that up a little bit. And I am using hot glue on this project. You could use some more durable glues, but since it's a seasonal solar light, I think it's going to hold up just fine. And anytime I use hot glue outside with like rope or burlap and stuff like that, the hot glue actually works really well for that. But I'm also going to be using the hot glue to attach it to the pumpkin itself. Now it kind of sits on there. It doesn't sit in it. It doesn't really sit over it. And so I almost need to make like a lip. And so I'm going to do that with just some Dollar Tree rope. I had like just a scrap piece of the brown. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line the top of it with a piece of rope going all the way around that I attach with hot glue. And that is going to make it a little bit skinnier where I can kind of nest that down inside, and it gives me something to glue the solar light onto. And I don't really care that I'm gluing it and that I can't change the batteries because, again, this is seasonal. And I actually have a lot of luck with the batteries lasting a long time on those solar lights usually. And I've done so many solar light videos this year on my channel that I have so many solar lights in front of, behind my house, everywhere. It's all lit up at night. And so now that I have that on there, I can just use some hot glue and go around the lip of that because the solar light is a little bit smaller than that one, and glue it right on. It gave me something to glue to, and the brown rope and the burlap really go well together. And that's it. Really simple. You have that orange color for in the pumpkin shape. You have a few acorns in there as well to give it a fun fall vibe, and just a really easy fall solar light DIY. So this is what it looks like during the day. It's super pretty. If you wanted to, you could add a little greenery or like a tendril on there, but sometimes with my outdoor DIYs, I like to try to keep it simple so they will stay together better. But look at that beautiful pattern it gives you when it's lit up at night. It's so pretty, and then you can really see the acorns inside, which is another fun fall touch. Day and night. I love how easy that was, and it's just so pretty. Okay, for the next DIY, I thought we would try lighting up a vase. So I picked up a Dollar Tree glass. I love this glass. It's called a highball glass, and then I picked up one of these battery-operated lights that has that like plastic dome on it. I thought that I could sit this glass on there and actually light up the vase. So it's going to be a little bit different project, but I love how it turned out. It's really fun. This one takes 3 of the AA batteries. It's got a little switch to turn on and off. And I'm going to sit the glass on there to make a vase. Now, sometimes you can flip a Dollar Tree glass over, and we will be doing that in a DIY today to make a solar light out of these. I love those little plastic light fixtures. Now, for the outside of the vase, I wanted it to look like fall. So I'm using this neutral color of fall leaves and a garland. I tried it to see if I wanted to actually wrap it with the garland, but I didn't really like the look of the brown plastic that you'd be able to see, and I thought it might look better with just individual leaves. So I'm using the same garland though, and I am just going ahead and cutting them off, cutting the stem and everything off, and giving them a quick iron with my heat gun. I'm going to use 4 of these. They're rather big enough that that's going to fill up a lot of space on here. And I just do a dot of hot glue and attach it to the outside of this cup. I found these cups at Dollar Tree. I noticed when I was there today, they have a smaller size. They also have like a straw cup of these that's a different size as well. So you could do this in just about any size. This is like the largest one they had, but I thought it would be a perfect vase. It's very heavyweight. And I love like the fluted design on there. I think it's really cool. So I'm just hot gluing these all around, like one up, one down, kind of having them go different directions, like falling leaves, falling in fall. So I think that's enough of that color leaves, but I still have a lot of the vase that kind of I think needs a little bit more. So I go ahead and just tack some of those down. If they're sticking out too far, just to kind of keep them in place. And then I have some of these fall leaves left over. I'm thinking I have these left over from that Dollar Tree Plus pumpkin that I DIY'd. I'm not sure, but I liked the colors on them. And I am a crafter, so I save everything. So I'm going to mix it up. You could also use some of the loose like leaves from the Dollar Tree. They're about this size too. And I'm going to have them kind of cascading down the vase as well. Instead of putting the fall leaves in the vase for the fall floral, I really wanted to have all the leaves on the vase, and that way I can do something a little bit different with the items in the vase. But this is going to cover up kind of the stems and stuff like that, so you won't be able to see those. but it's also going to light up with that plastic base that we're going to be sitting it on. So I wanted to try it out. I did a lot of the crafting with the lights on just because it's fun, but I noticed that it is a little bit harder to see on the camera. So maybe next time I should turn them off. For the first one, greenery, I'm using the eucalyptus from the fall section. It is a green color, which I thought was pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and leave one bundle all together. Since they're just going to be kind of loose in the jar, I don't want to add any foam or anything like that because I want the light to be able to come through and light up the whole vase. I just leave them all attached, just arranging them. And then I found this Dollar Tree green floral called the hop bush. It's green too, so I thought this would be really pretty for kind of a neutral fall color scheme. And I just kind of flare those out. It looks really pretty. I test them out to see if they're too tall. If they are, I just go in with my wire cutters and cut them down a little bit. I thought about using flowers, but I decided to switch it up for some of the Dollar Tree wheat. I don't necessarily like their wheat. I don't think it looks really realistic, but for this project, I think it's going to work, and it has the green leaves too, so it kind of goes with the color scheme. So I add that as well. That fills it up really nicely. It lights up, so that is really cool. Now, I did think that the white plastic was a little plain, so just to soften that up and make that feel more coastal fall, I'm cutting another strip of burlap to make a little ribbon to go around it. It does have a switch on it, so I can't go all the way around, but I can just glue it on each side of the switch. That way it doesn't interfere with the operation, but it's going to give it just a little softer touch than the white plastic there at the bottom. And it shouldn't interfere with being able to change the batteries out or anything like that. I set the vase on there. It lights it all up. It's kind of hard to show you. I don't want to knock anything out, but here I can show you how it looks here in my home. This is what it looks like during the day. So it's a beautiful fall vase with the leaves cascading down the side. So even when it's not lit up, I think it's still really pretty and really festive for fall. And then this is what it looks like lit up. Really cool and creative way to use those little plastic lights. I always use the base. I never use that crystally plastic vase that comes on top because I think they work so well with Dollar Tree glassware. Really whimsical. I love that DIY. Okay, I told you I was going to use one with a Dollar Tree glass, and this is it. So again, I picked up one of these plastic lights, and with the traditional style seasonal glasses at Dollar Tree, they fit on there perfectly. I DIY'd a solar light for summer with the bee glasses because it doesn't matter if you have that glass upside down or right side up, and the fall leaf glasses are exactly the same. It doesn't matter. You can use them either way. So again, popping in 3 of those Amazon AA batteries, screwing on the bottom, no screws involved in that one. And then I do need to make sure that I get this off cleanly, the sticker on the bottom of the Dollar Tree glass. And it came off pretty easily. I'm going to use some of that glue away again to get that off. It's just a Dollar Tree version of the glue gun. I love that it comes in a little spray bottle though. It really works well for these pesky labels. Now, I wanted to fill it up with just some acorns. I thought about greenery. I actually decided not to use the greenery, and I'll show you why. So the acorns, these are the more traditional color, like the brownish orange ones. I'm going to use 3. There's 3 little screws in there that will be visible, but I thought if I could cover them up with acorns along the sides, they will fit in there, add a fall touch, and they won't interfere with the light because the lights are in the center of it. So I just hot glue them here, 1 on each section, and making sure I don't go too far over to the edges though because I want the glass still to fit on top. Now this is what I wanted to put in there was my lamb's ear because there is a little bit of green touch of leaves on the pattern, and I thought if I added orange leaves to it, it would be too much. So I thought I would do lamb's ear. Now the reason I decided against the lamb's ear is because it just felt like it was too busy and that the beautiful pattern on the cup was not going to light up as much because I was probably going to be blocking it all with the lamb's ear. So I actually decided not to use it and just to use the plain pattern. It sits on there perfectly. You can glue it if you want. I don't want to glue it because I want to be able to get in and out of it if I need to, or change out the cup. Now for the base of this one, instead of just the white plastic, I'm using a beautiful fall ribbon. I love the size of this one with the fall leaves on there. I just got this at Dollar Tree tonight, and I go ahead and just cut that out. Again, just gluing around the on-off button, which is so great for those. The one that I made like this with the bees for summer, my son borrowed for his room. He says it makes a great nightlight to sit next to his bed, and he loves the nature theme of it. The pattern is so great on the fall leaves that I don't think it really needs any greenery inside. I think the acorns actually just provide the perfect amount of fall, and there are acorns on the glass as well. So this is what it looks like during the day. As you can see, those fall glasses are really pretty. They also had pumpkin glasses, but those wouldn't work because the pumpkins would all be upside down if you inverted the cup. But for this fall pattern, it works perfectly. This is what it looks like lit up at night. Since I didn't add the greenery, it is super bright. You can see all of the great fall leaves all lit up. And I think it turned out so cute. It was so easy to put together. Now for the next DIY, I wanted to make another solar light, and I wanted to make a lantern. So I picked up a solar light. Again, it doesn't matter which one you pick. Even a square one would work for this one because the vase I picked up is one of those plastic vases from the Dollar Tree that's square. And I'm going to attach the solar light inside of it, but I want it to be like a solar light lantern that we're going to DIY for fall. So it's going to need a base. I chose some of this craftwood from the Dollar Tree. It is a square and it's just about the right size. I'm going to decorate it as well. It was a little rough, so I did have to go in there with my sanding sponge and clean that up a little bit. I am going to decorate this, but I do want to stain it just in case there's some areas that you won't be able to see my fall decor. I'm going to be using a couple of the fall leaf picks there that you see. They have a really cute acorn on there, and I will be incorporating that as well. So I just do a quick stain with Antique Wax by Waverly all over, including the edges in case you can see them. Just wiping that off with a paper towel. And again, Antique Wax by Waverly is super quick, dries quick, and just a fun way to stain that craft wood. Now I'm going to have it upside down like this, the vase. I'm going to draw a couple little corners on here so I kind of know where to line this up. And this project kind of evolved as I crafted it. I want it to look like a lantern, so that's going to be like the base of the lantern. It's going to be an outdoor decor, so I wanted it to be fairly heavy. So I'm going to use some of the Dollar Tree rocks to kind of weigh down the base of it. Since that plastic vase is really lightweight, I don't want it to tip over. And I'm also going to be putting a Dollar Tree pumpkin inside to light up. And so I do want that to be lifted up so you can see it. So I'm going to just make a pile of rocks, basically. I like these colors. I think they look great for fall. I'm just randomly gluing them on there, and we're going to do a pile of rocks. That's going to add a little bit of decor, but it's also going to, serve the function of lifting up the pumpkin. So I just hot glue these on here. I don't want to go too close to the edge, which is one reason why I put the little corners on there for reference. So I didn't go too far. And I'm trying to choose like some flat ones so they will stack well. Again, just super random with these and checking to make sure that my lantern is still going to fit on top. I DIY'd a solar light for summer using one of those vases in the blue color and made it look like a lighthouse, and it turned out so cute. Now, this is the pumpkin I chose for inside. The reason I chose that one is because it's small enough to fit inside. It's kind of a medium-sized pumpkin I found at Dollar Tree this year. It is ivory, which is not, I really want it to be a little bit more traditional fall color. So ivory will work great because I can paint it to whatever color I want. But I did do another row of rocks on there in the center to lift it up a little bit more. And it's a really nice size pumpkin. It's kind of an in-between size that you don't often find at Dollar Tree, so I appreciate that. I'm just going to pop off the lid and paint it really quick. Since it's ivory, it's going to paint really well. I'm only going to do one coat. And this is apricot acrylic paint. I really love this color for fall. I think it's really pretty for a pumpkin. And if I don't get great coverage, you'll just see a little bit of the ivory coming through, and it'll just make it look a little bit distressed, looking like a real pumpkin would be. Now it is made out of foam, so I'm using my heat gun to help dry it, but very sparingly because I want to make sure that I don't melt any of the foam. Foam pumpkins are really fragile like that. And then I'm also going to paint the stem because it was bright green. So I just used this beachcomber beige, I think it's called, to kind of make it look more tan. And again, if some of the green shows through on that, it's just going to make it look a little bit more two-dimensional. So that's good. So I go ahead and just pop that on, making sure it's stuck down in there, and I think that looks really cute. So I want to attach this inside the lantern, so I'm going to go ahead and just attach it with some hot glue right here in the center, and this will be one of the things lit up inside of our fall lantern. I think that looks cute, and it's going to serve the purpose and weigh it down and lift the pumpkin up. Now for this part, I need to attach the solar light. I'm going to go ahead and attach it on the inside so it doesn't interfere with the lantern design. So I just do hot glue, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom of the vase, which is going to be the top of the lantern, with some hot glue, and that's going to also protect it from the weather since it's going to be outside. Now for the greenery, I picked up this one. It's very traditional fall with the bright oranges, yellows, greens. And I love the acorn. I love everything except for the berries. I think the berries are kind of ugly on this one, so I won't be using those. So I'm just going to go ahead and start taking this apart. The acorn I'm going to use on the front of the lantern. It's a really cool one. It's a little bit different than like the big felted ones that you can find, but it's definitely larger than the other ones that they have. Now for the greenery, I'm just going to go ahead and cut them into individual leaves so I can kind of cascade those around my lantern. Since I'm using this thick wood, I can just use my staple gun, and that will be nice and durable, and I will kind of overlap those to cover the staple, and then I can also use the acorn to cover the staple here in front. And again, just trying to mix up the color, have them go like every which way. This is going to be the front, and I went around and did the whole thing. Now, if I were to make this lantern again, I would probably do this step last because it was a little bit hard getting the lantern in and out while I'm doing other things to it because it's not quite complete. But I'm going to continue that all the way around. I love the colors. This is so colorful and a little bit different than my normal neutral fall I've been doing a lot. But I think this is going to look great, like on the table next to my front door for a fun little solar light. This is the back, so I don't really care back here if you're going to be able to see the staples. But otherwise, I tried to cover them all up, except there's one there in the front, which I'm going to cover with that cute little acorn. Did have a little bit of glue I just melted there on the acorn cap. And I'm just going to attach that with hot glue to the leaves. It's looking pretty cute. We've got the pumpkin, we've got the fall leaves, we've got the acorn. Now I want to make it look like a lantern. So it needed like a little bit of a box shape. You could use wood for this, I guess, maybe some dowels. I thought I wanted to see if I could do it with some Dollar Tree rope. So this is the brown rope from the Dollar Tree in like the thinner kind. And I'm actually going to frame it out, try to make it look like a lantern. Now, I did it two different ways. I attached the hot glue to the vase, and then I've also tried putting the hot glue on the rope. I think putting the hot glue on the rope might be better because you have to be really careful. Since this is made out of plastic, it is sensitive to that hot glue, and you can kind of mess up your vase pretty easily if you get too much on there. So I'm trying to carefully not to get too much on there. But I just go up, over, and then down all with one piece of rope to frame out this side section. And then I'm also going to be boxing in the top of it to give it that lantern shape. And I think this did provide the structure that I was looking for on this to make it look more like a lantern and less just like a globe on top of it that didn't really make any sense. So this was me trying to add to the rope, which worked well until I got here, and then it was probably a little bit easier to add it to the vase. My hot glue gun gives you a lot of hot glue, so I'd probably been a little bit better off with like more of a finer detail hot glue gun, but we're gonna make it work. So I flipped it over and I'm just doing the rope the same way. I just go up, over, and down and cutting off any excess. Now this did make that part of the vase a little bit bigger when I go to put it in, which is probably why it was really snug getting it in there with the leaves. Now for this section, I already have the corners done, so I really only need to square it in. So I just cut a little piece of rope here to finish off. This is going to be like the front, and I'm going to do the same thing on the back. And I do go in and add a little bit more rope before I'm done with this one. So that looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and try to burn off any fuzzies. Again, trying to be careful. I know that plastic doesn't want to play. And then I also want to have some fall greenery. I have another bundle of that same arrangement. And I basically just want some fall leaves to go inside the lantern as well to go with the pumpkin. So I'm just going to cut off like one piece like this, cut the berries off, and stand that up towards the back just to provide another fun fall touch to this. And then just kind of sit it on there. I don't attach it to anything. I just kind of have it standing straight up. And you can see how tight it is now to get it in there with the fall leaves. So I had to kind of go around one section at a time and kind of pull the leaves out to make sure it fits in there. I'm not going to glue it on or anything. You could if you wanted to, but I'm just going to have it kind of sit on there. It's pretty snug. I think it will stay in place. And then I decided I wanted to kind of frame out the top of this as well, kind of cover up some of the hot glue. Again, if you had maybe one of the square solar lights, it might fit the top a little bit better than the round one, but I'm okay with it. I just go ahead and do a square of that rope. And it just made the top of it look a little bit better, I think. And there it is, our solar fall DIY lantern made from scratch. I think it turned out really cute. It was really fun to make. This is what it looks like during the day. So many fun fall touches with the fall leaves, the pumpkin, the acorn. And this is what it looks lit up at night for the lantern. And again, it's a solar light, so you have to use those outside so that they can charge during the day. And they don't have any trouble charging through that clear plastic at all. It actually just protects the solar light. Day and night. It was really fun, definitely whimsical. I wanted to try some of these little lanterns, the mini lanterns from Dollar Tree. Now, these do have batteries. They're only $1.25. They have these in white and black. I picked up some black ones too because I thought they'd be cute for Halloween. But I'm going to try the white ones to make a fall tree DIY. So I'm going to use a Dollar Tree glass bottle that I found. This is one of the ones that had the lighted corks in it that I used for another project. And then I just went and got a stick for my neighbor's yard. So for the Dollar Tree rope, I'm going to use that to cover the vase. The vase is kind of ornate. I want it to look more brown and kind of neutral for fall. And so I just go ahead and hot glue this to the base. I love this size bottle. I'm glad I saved these because I used the cork lights and other DIYs here on my channel, and it's a great size. It's about the same size as like a little glass soda bottle too. You could use something like that if you had some in your recycling. Now I did glue it first, but once you get going on this, you can kind of just turn it and push it. It goes pretty fast until you run out of rope. One package of the thinner brown rope from Dollar Tree is not enough, but that's okay. We can always start and stop. I'm just making sure to do that where I started. That way that can be the back of my vase and all the starting and stopping can be back there. So I just go ahead and do another. And we're going to be using that stick to be a fall tree. I'm going to cover it in fall leaves. And then I'm going to hang those little lanterns from it. I thought that would be a really fun DIY. Now it gets a little trickier when you get to this part of the bottle. I am having to add hot glue just to make sure that it stays in place. I don't want any gaps between my rope. I just want a nice rope vase for this DIY. I don't really want you to be able to see any of the glass at all though. So when I go up here to the top, I'm going to go a little bit further than I really need to go to make sure that all of the glass is covered. And again, I'm going to stop right here on the same side that I started and stopped both times before. You can, again, clean up your fuzzies with just a lighter, get some of those threads off there. This Dollar Tree rope isn't too bad, but sometimes you can get some really fuzzy rope. Then I'm going to fill it up with Dollar Tree sand. I used white sand. It doesn't matter what color because you're really not going to be able to see much of it. But I thought that would be strong enough to hold this branch up because it's going to be having all the lights hanging from it as well. And I'm going to have to kind of center that out a little bit. I want the different branches to be different lengths. So I'm just cutting that down with my miter scissors until I'm happy with it. I want like 3 branches to hold my 3 lanterns. And then the one on the bottom there can just be kind of a bonus one. These are the Dollar Tree fall leaves. They come in yellow, orange, green, red, and like a gold foil. I'm going to use like this orangish red color and the red ones. I decided the yellow ones were just a little bit too bright for my liking. And I'm just hot gluing to them to that free branch that with a little dot of hot glue and kind of making them look like there's not very many leaves left on the tree, and the ones that are on there will probably be falling soon. So I'm kind of alternating the red and the orange. I'm glad that I didn't make it super colorful. I think that this is definitely enough color for this project. So I have my 3 branches all covered with that. I also have the smaller branch at the bottom. And you can go ahead and iron those if you need to, but they're pretty much flat. The way they package them is pretty good. I thought one more leaf back here would look good. I like that the orange and red ones have 2 different patterns. One has kind of veining and one doesn't. And then I'm going to use just Dollar Tree twine to tie the lanterns onto the tree. So I just go ahead and tie these off with a little bit of twine. That way I can tie them right where I want them on the branches. I want them kind of hanging down like this. Now my branches were kind of going straight up and down. So I'm also going to use a little bit of hot glue to make sure that they don't slide down the branch any. And just cut off the excess twine. I think that's going to work. So I'm going to have this one go a little bit higher on the branch right about here. Again, I had to hot glue all of them just to make sure they stayed in place. And my third one is going to be on this back one. I think it's going to be weighted evenly. So even though this is pretty tall, I think it should stay in place, even with the little mini lanterns on them. And I love these little lanterns with the candles inside. I think they're so cute. So I'm going to turn them on. The only thing I didn't like about them is they are pretty bright white. A little bit of a yellow tint on the candle or the light would have been appreciated, but it was $1.25 each, so I think that was a pretty good deal. So I go ahead and put my branch down into the vase. Now I still have some room in there and it felt like it wasn't super secure. So I'm going to finish filling the rest of the vase up with that sand. It took almost a whole package to fill up that side vase, and I go all the way to the top so that my branch is secure and this isn't going to go anywhere. And this is how it turned out. So this is what it looks like during the day with the little lanterns hanging from the fall branches. Super cute. And I just love them. I have been looking for a way to DIY these since I found these at the Dollar Tree. I think they're so cute. So this is what they look like lit up at night. Super cute. I love them. And I don't really mind the fall colors on this one. Now for the next fall light DIY, I told you we were going to use the clear glass pumpkin, and this time we're going to use the fairy garden lights for it to make a fun little light for my home. So I'm going to go ahead and just remove the tag from the bottom. It almost came off. I love it. There's nothing better than when a tag comes off with like little effort. And I'm going to use those fairy garden lights to light it up. So again, I'm going to pop some batteries in there, some double A's. I wanted this to be more traditional fall color since it's clear to kind of make it look like a pumpkin. So I'm going to be using some of the orange pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, some of the orangish, brownish acorns, and some more of that potpourri from the Dollar Tree. So these work great. I'm going to go ahead and unwind them before I get started. And I want to kind of disguise the jar lid on this one just to make it look more finished. So I'm going to do that with just some Dollar Tree rope and some hot glue. I just go around it like 3 times, kind of going and actually in the grooves of the screw-on lid there to cover that up because I don't want there to be a lid on this one because I'm going to have the battery pack. I'm going to be storing it on the outside of this one as well. So this is what it looks like with the rope. And again, I like the clear pumpkin too, especially when you could add some color to it. So I'm going to start here with some potpourri. Again, I'm kind of using all the colors except for the white, like the white flowery pieces. I don't really like those. And then I thought the warmness of the color of this acorn combined with those little orange pumpkins would give this a lot of color and fall vibes. These are the little pumpkins that are wired. They do come out. They come out probably a little cleaner than the clips. And they're a nice tiny size, and the paint job is not too bad on them this year. So I'm going to put some pumpkins in there and put my lights all the way around them, just kind of coiling them in there so you can see the lights from the outside. And it's going to light up all these pretty things that we're adding inside this pumpkin. A little bit more of that potpourri. And I don't craft often with potpourri, but it smells really nice. Maybe I should. Some more of the acorns scattered in here. And I just add potpourri, acorns, pumpkins. I just keep alternating until I fill that entire jar. Now, I have made a candle out of one of these pumpkin jars from the Dollar Tree one time, and one of my viewers told me that it says they're not suitable for hot liquids. I didn't have any trouble using that candle, though, but I guess it's always a good idea to check. They do sometimes have a warning on them, I guess, if you read the fine print on the bottom. I'm just going to hide my little battery pack here on the back where you won't be able to see it, and I'll be able to turn the lights on and off easily. Now, I do want it to have a pumpkin stem, so once I get it full, I just put a Dollar Tree wood stem in there, sticking straight up like that. So this one actually does have a pumpkin stem, and it lights up as well. This is what it looks like with the acorns, the pumpkins, the lights, and the potpourri in there. It's very colorful and fun for fall, and this is what it looks like lit up at night, super festive and fun. I love those jars. I always try to pick them up every year because I always can find something fun to do with them. So again, this is day, and then this is night. Really fun and festive for fall. I hope you enjoyed all 23 of these fall Dollar Tree DIYs. Be sure to let me know which one was your favorite down in the comments below. I always love reading all of your comments. And if you haven't subscribed, I'd appreciate it. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers. Enjoy the final reveal.
Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Dancing through the last days of September. Open up the window, I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase it, Open up the window. I'm breathing in the last of September. I can feel the wind blow, and the late summer sky is like a giant ember. Everything is turning into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Since I was a little child, every year for as long as I remember, all the leaves were running wild, going all the way until November. Turn the world around us into gold. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. I wonder where they're going, the flight of swallows sailing through the sky. There's no way of knowing, but maybe someplace far from you and I. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. When the autumn leaves are playing chase, it puts a smile up on my face. They leave their branches one by one and whirl around there just for fun. Some are faster, some are slow, and some are high and some are low, dancing through the last days of September. Dancing through the last days of September.
Thank you so much for making it all the way to the end of today's video. I also want to give a huge thank you to all of my channel members for supporting me here on YouTube. Thank you so much to Karen O'Haron, Melinda Elizabeth, Jamie Job, Susan Edmonds, Tracy Knight, Nancy Wunner, Janae Farrington, Pamelia Wren, Donna Schreiner, Live Another Day, Tracy Woldridge, Maren Christensen, Debbie Middleton, Adrian Brolt, Red Mama, Tammy Muir, and Donna Tanner. Thank you so much. I appreciate each and every one of you. And if you would like to become a Crafty Beach Bum member, all you have to do is hit the join button next to today's video. You're going to get early ad-free access to my videos here on YouTube. It's $4.99 a month, and you're free to cancel at any time. Would you like more fall Dollar Tree DIYs? Be sure to check out one of these YouTube videos right here. And until next time, happy crafting.